It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Wow, I don't know what happened here. We have a great panel. Christina Warren, Dylan Tweney, Jason Snell, and all of a sudden John C. Dvorak shows up, and it turns out all he wants to talk about is the new Google Alphabet. But that's not all we'll talk about. We got Tinder. We've got all sorts of stuff. You stay here. This Week in Tech. A long one is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 523, recorded Sunday, August 16th, 2015. Screwball Ventures. This Week in Tech is brought to you by the Ring Video Doorbell. With a built-in HD camera and microphone, you can monitor your front door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. It's like being home even when you're not. Right now, get $10 off the Ring Video Doorbell when you go to ring.com/twit. And by Carbonite. For the hands-on business owner, Carbonite makes data backup hands-free. Carbonite's automatic cloud backup provides you with round-the-clock protection at work and at home. Visit Carbonite.com and use the offer code TWIT for 2 free bonus months. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, or other Apple product is worth at Gazelle.com. And by Lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/twit2. That's LYNDA.com/TWIT and the number 2. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news with some of the best journalists in the business, and they're all here this week, and I'm happy about it. Dylan Tweney is here from VentureBeat, founder of, this is new, Tweney Media.
Thank you. Yes, that is true.
What is Tweney Media?
Well, right now it's just a fancy name for me.
Oh, well, meet Leo Media and Jason Media and Christina Media.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it. So are you haven't left your day job?
No, I have left my day job. I'm still a columnist at VentureBeat, and I'm still doing an occasional podcast for VentureBeat, but otherwise I'm out on my own.
Exciting.
As
Congratulations.
a freelancer/contractor. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's been good. It's been really good.
This is the age of the freelancer. There's no better time, right? Jason did that.
I hear so.
Oh, my God. Jason Snell is here.
I'm being haunted by
Jason,
my
of course, from sixcolors.com, has also gone the freelance route.
Yeah.
And it's odd because it looks like it couldn't be. John C. Dvorak is standing behind you right now.
I have had nightmares like this.
And there's scrambling going on.
I can leave and take this lens with me.
Could you come back next week? That's when we thought you would be here. But no, I'm thrilled. Here, give me my lens.
You get the 45?
I'll talk about that later. Come on and have a seat. We didn't expect you. Actually, we were worried. We thought maybe you thought you were supposed to be here this week.
I did.
That's good. You can be here this week and next week if you want. You can be here as many weeks as you want. Oh, John going to make...
I was.
Normally, John sits there.
This is John's spot.
How do you feel about sitting over here?
I don't mind sitting over here.
It might throw me.
Oh, well, they're good.
Yeah.
Everything you say might be right.
Yeah.
I get all
From
these
over there.
invites starting on Wednesday to come in.
We were talking about next week. Because we had arranged a show just for you with your favorite people.
Oh.
Old white old men.
Do you want this?
Yeah, but I don't have the 45
You
with
got
me.
the white. You're the white old man.
I didn't expect you this week.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, I'm saying that because I brought this lens.
Thank you. I appreciate it. God, it's hot. Is it hot out there?
Oh, no, not really.
John C. Dvorak from No Agenda Show.
Is there a computer? Somebody?
Yeah, we'll get you a computer. Dvorak.org/blog. And finally, but last and certainly not least, from Mashable, Christina Warren is also here. And,
hello.
Unfortunately, you've been slid out over onto the edge, so we're going to have some pineapple tarts if you'd like.
I don't think so.
I brought them just for you.
No, you didn't. You didn't expect me to be here, apparently.
Yeah, but how is it that I had pineapple tarts, you may ask?
I don't like pineapple tarts, so they wouldn't be for me.
All right.
You want to try one?
I don't even know what they are. So, wow, that's great. Nice to see you.
Good to be here on the wrong day.
That's
Thanks.
good. No, but you know what? You know what I can tell you? We have a vast studio audience, larger than usual, because it's air conditioned inside.
Yeah.
And they're thrilled, right? They practically, there was an audible gasp when he walked in the room, like they were at
He
the
has that effect on
God.
people.
the ghost of
This is
Marley.
going to screw something up big time. Okay, here you go.
Wow, those are unusual. Let's get the show underway, and then we can all enjoy pineapple
Yes,
tarts.
thank you.
Where is this from? This must be some sort of.
Benghazi.
Is it really?
Yeah, it says, oh, no, it's something else.
Let's talk about the big story of the week, which I think, well, there's several, but I think the big story of the week, we're going to get John
that'd be great.
an Apple computer and a San Pellegrino water.
This is a better seat. I've been screwed all this whole
Yeah,
time.
look at that.
I'm telling you.
That's the Snell seat normally.
Well, no
And
wonder.
we've
Why
got
shouldn't you let him sit there?
massive computer. I've never seen such a big computer. Look, it's like big bear, baby bear, mama bear, and papa
You know,
bear.
I did say on Twitter that I was going to be on today. Nobody said, hey, you got the wrong week. You guys monitor this stuff.
I should. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't.
Well, it's okay.
I apologize.
I'm
but
here.
People are thrilled
I
right
will
now.
say this. The traffic is outrageously crappy.
I know. It has been a lot lately.
Yeah, not good.
I think it's just summertime, I think they call it.
They're all flocking to San Rafael.
This is good. I don't know what this is or where they come from.
I got to try one.
They're buttery. There's no pineapple in them.
Let's Snell try
For
one.
those, I already tried one. They're vaguely
They're
pineapple.
interesting.
They're not.
I
they're not
got
super
the
strongly
review.
pineapple as
Yeah.
I thought.
Do you know, let me introduce you, Dylan Tweney. Have you met?
I think I've met Dylan like 40 years ago, something like that.
We go way back.
That's what I thought. Were you at PC Magazine, Dylan?
Yeah, I was at PC Mag. I was doing online stuff at PC Mag in 2006, 2007.
So that's probably where you crossed paths.
So
That would make
I
some
hung out with
sense.
John then.
I ran into him before.
But he was also a columnist for PC Computing in the days when I was getting
Oh
my
my
start.
God!
Yeah.
Yeah, PC Computing. You were in the back of the book, weren't you? In the PC Computing days.
I don't know.
Does that Mac World?
and Mac User.
Mac User.
Yeah,
He
oh,
was-
yeah. When
he
I
was-
was started at Mac
the
User,
anti-editor.
John was our back page columnist. Yeah.
They called him the anti-editor.
Oh
didn't
yes.
he?
The idea was they actually paid me to be mean. It's true.
Best job
Absolutely
he's
true.
ever had.
John,
Absolutely
I have
true.
to say,
In fact,
you wrote one of my favorite columns ever while you were at PC Computing, and I remember this distinctly because I remember seeing it on the wall as it was being laid out. You were saying, this internet thing is never going anywhere.
Poor John. But
It was a.
I think you were talking about internet email. You were complaining that
No,
it was
no, no, no,
unreliable.
no. I was
at
using
MCI.
email since the MCI email days. I would have never said that. I was saying that the thing in PC Computing, I may have said that the cable modems at the time were going nowhere. The problem that I have is that I've said stuff that's 40 years
a
old.
long time ago, you said the mouse was never going to go.
No, I
anywhere.
never said that. That's a lie.
Well, okay. I mean,
What I
I'm
said.
not I know, it's the.
No, I
it's-
know, but there's a
it's
bunch
the
of-
thing that gets brought up a lot.
Yes, but the quote, but it's because some joker added a bunch of little fandangles to the quote, and that got passed around. But what I actually said, which wasn't a positive thing, but I said there's no evidence to show that people want these things. And then somebody added, and I wouldn't buy any newfangled, they use the word newfangled device, and then everybody passed that around as though I had said it, because it was so funny. And but in fact, I never had said it.
I think if you write about technology, I talked about technology for 30 years.
Yes.
There's no way that you won't have something that somebody could point to and say, "Oh, you got that
I
one really
did
wrong."
a column for PC Computing that's my favorite,
question.
which the editors didn't want, and it was an entire column on why the caps lock key should be eliminated.
Well, we had planned. I agree with you on that. It's the first thing I do on any new computer is disable caps lock.
Yeah, well, I wrote a
I'm
whole
with you
column
on-
about
I'm
it.
with you
They
on
say,
that
how
one.
can you write a whole column about one crummy idea? And it didn't do any good.
When you have to
That's
do a
how
lot
much
of
You have to do
columns
12 of
actually
them a year, man.
Yeah.
You gotta come up with column ideas.
Look at this. Philip Elmer DeWitt, Fortune magazine. This is writing in January 2009. And he says how critics reviewed the Mac when it came out in '84. And, of course, he has your comment.
I had the-
And originally in the comment, he had all of this extra crap.
Which I called him up about this, by the way.
And
I
he-
sent him an email. I
and
said,
he-
this is bull crap. I never said this.
He
And I
lined it
gave him
out.
the original column. And so he did this.
He says it's not clear at this point whether Dvorak ever wrote them.
it is
We
clear. I
apologize
didn't.
for the error.
Yeah.
So
well.
but retractions never get as much attention.
No, that
as the
newfangled
original.
thing, the quote, if you see the word newfangled in the quote, I never said that. And it's a word I don't think I've ever written.
I could see you writing newfangled.
Yes, but I have never written that word. I think
totally
it's a
see
stupid
that.
word.
Fangled. What does fangled mean?
I don't know, but a newfangled is obviously a new version.
Yeah, the latest fangle.
Way better than old fangled.
Yeah, old fangled is very.
I really want to know where that phrase comes from. Let me Google
Something
fangled.
a codger would say, so they would associate it with me as some sort of an insult because nobody can
Fangle?
actually say anything to your face.
Well, there is a word newfangled.
Now, there's fangled. What's fangled mean?
Fangled means foppish. Based on a misinterpretation of newfangle as fashionable. But if we go back to the Mutiny of the Elsinore, written by Jack London, your friend, Mr.
Exactly.
Pike,
Poor guy's dead now.
Mr. Pike refused to, quote, monkey with the, quote, fangled forceps in the medicine chest. I don't think it's clear what fangled means in that context.
No.
Could be damaged, could be bent, could be foppish.
Hard to use.
Hard to use, could be a lot of things. All right, we've got John set up, or maybe we don't.
No, I was just wondering why this defaulted to deviant art.
Well, it's our porno machine, apparently. You got the good one.
Actually, deviant art's not porno. It's
You got the
just-
good one.
It's just wild art.
There's some porno. I mean, it's usually anime or manga style, but let's make no mistake, there's definitely some porno on TV.
It's art, though. It's mostly cartoonish.
I don't know where we got into this conversation from. The big story of the week, ladies and gentlemen. And we've discussed it on earlier shows because it happened on Monday. But I think we've not had it on Twitter, and I think we need to talk about it a little bit, is this strange new plan from Google
Not Google anymore.
to rebrand itself as Alphabet.
This is why I thought you brought me on, because I wrote an entire column on this.
You're the guy I want to know. My first reaction when we heard it, I was on the air doing iOS Today, and my first reaction was, well, there may be some financial reason, some deep CFO mojo going on here. But otherwise, I don't really see an advantage. If there's not a tax advantage, why not just do a reorg? Isn't this a reorg under a different name? John C. Dvorak, what do you think?
I think you should leave me to. I want to hear what everyone else thinks.
We'll leave you to last. Yeah. Explain it. All right. What do you think, Christina?
No, I mean, I think that there are a number of reasons to do it. I mean, and it's weird. When it first was announced, I assumed it was sort of a joke. And then the more I thought about it, I thought, actually, this makes a lot of sense. And it's a very Larry and a very Sergey thing to do, down to not even checking to see if anyone else had a trademark for the name. So, I mean, I think that Google, obviously, it started out as search, and then it's become kind of an advertising company. And they, obviously, most of their internet services are in that regard. But as they get into other areas, and especially other research areas, it makes sense from a public-facing perspective to say we want these types of businesses to live side by side, but not necessarily be completely connected. So, we can have our research division, we can have the Google X or X Labs or whatever we want to call it. We can have our healthcare stuff. We can have our ISP business, all our venture capital business, all of that living separately from our core services, Android and YouTube and Google search and all of that stuff. So, I mean, I think it makes sense when you look at the fact that, especially as Google is trying to make these bigger and bigger moonshots, they're trying to do more and more things, and simply being under the Google umbrella tends to limit them a little bit, because people just assume, okay, well, what's the benefit for Google on this? How is this going to impact search or mobile or advertising? And maybe they want to do things that are in other areas that aren't necessarily aided, that don't eventually, I guess, lead to those kind of core competencies that go into other areas, self-driving cars, some of the medical research they're doing. So I think that it helps in that regard from kind of a public perception issue, is that they can have one big company that's solving a bunch of different problems. And my cynical take when I first heard the news was, well, there has to be some sort of regulatory reason for why they want to do this. And I don't think it necessarily gets them out of any hot water with the EU or any other countries that are, filing privacy lawsuits or trying to get them to do different things. But I do think that it makes it a lot easier to say that if you have an ISP like Google Fiber is, and you also have this mobile business, and you have kind of the fact that they capture so much of your browsing data and other information about your advertising, that if there was a little bit of uncomfortability around the fact that all those things were under the same company. If they're technically two separate companies who maybe just have a data sharing agreement, or maybe don't even have a data sharing agreement, it might be easier for regulators to say, yeah, you can have an ISP and you can have a search engine and you can have, a mail service and a video service and run the biggest ad network in the world. But because these things aren't necessarily living under the same, corporate name, and they have to have their own, data sharing agreements within one another, it's going to be easier to handle from a regulatory perspective.
Dylan, you agree?
Not really, because I think at the end of the day, it's the same bag of stuff. It just has a different name. I think that, and I don't think that's going to ultimately change the way the EU or the SEC,
they're not.
The SEC looks at things.
I'm like fooled by this.
The people it matters most to are Larry and Sergey and Sundar and Tony, the Fadell, who's running Nest. I think it's most important for them because it kind of sets up a succession pattern and gives them a little bit more clarity internally in how they operate with each other. But I mean, it's the same stock, it's the same assets. Nothing really fundamental has changed in this.
Could you have done exactly this with just a reorg? I mean, you don't really need to spin off a new company.
I don't know. I think it's a good idea. As somebody
My feeling is,
I worked at IDG for many years. It was founded by a guy who ended up being a billionaire, Pat McGovern.
Yeah.
And the way he ran that business was there were it was a holding company with a whole bunch of independent companies inside it. And depending on how much Larry and Sergey want to be involved, I mean, this could be a really good move in the sense that it could give everybody some clarity and say, Sundar, this is what Google is. You're in charge of that.
Right.
We'll talk to you. We're basically your board of directors, but we will talk to you, and you make these decisions under our observation. And Tony Fadell, you do that with Nest. If they manage it so that if Tony Fadell wants to make decisions that are not just feeding into what Google wants, then I think that's good. If it's, but that all comes down to how Larry and Sergey want to manage or micromanage. If the goal here is to sort of separate the part of Google that makes a lot of money, it is this machine that generates money based on advertising on the web and YouTube advertising and things like that, and separate that from the wild idea and the investment parts of what Larry and Sergey do, then I think that's good, at least from a clarity standpoint, to say, look, Google isn't making self-driving cars, really. That's sort of Larry and Sergey. And when they started the company, everything they did was Google. And now what they're saying is, look, we do lots of stuff. It doesn't all need to be under the Google brand name. I think that's good, and I think Dylan's exactly right. It's good for somebody like Tony Fadell to be able to put a little distance between himself and Google and say, look, when you're working with Nest, yes, we're owned by Larry and Sergey, but we're not moving in lockstep with what Google's doing.
They say, Larry Page in his letter explaining this says, we're going to hold the purse strings. We're going to fund all this stuff, but we're going to let these companies run essentially autonomously. It strikes me there's actually some negatives, not some benefits. I don't see any benefit to it.
Let me tell you.
Hold on, wait a minute, and then I'm going to give you a chance.
You got something to say?
Yes.
Okay, go.
But I don't want to know what you think until I say it, and then I want to know what you think.
All right.
Because I don't want to be.
I'm trying to save you
here,
but that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want anybody to say, oh, John saved you, or you changed your mind because of John.
Does anybody know that I do that?
No. But you do, and I know it, and I'm very grateful. I think that there are some potential negatives because they're going to now be reporting returns from some of these companies that it will never show returns, like Calico, the longevity company. That's always been hidden in the Google results. Now these will be seen. So there is actually, I think there's some actually significant negatives to this. I think what really is happening is this is a lot of hand waving around Larry Page stepping down. That really is, imagine the announcement, a different announcement. Larry Page has decided to step down as CEO of Google.
And to become like chairman of the board.
Become chairman of the board.
Yeah.
We have a new CEO, Sundar Pichai. What would the stock market's reaction been to that?
Well, and Larry's thought about that would also be, Sundar's only really interested in this part, and I'm interested in this totally other thing.
Yeah,
so,
but I mean, Sergey Brin has been running the X division, kind of autonomously for ages. Nobody even cares. It's Sergey's hobby, right? And that's what's I think really happening is Larry Page is saying, I don't want to have meetings about search anymore.
Yeah,
I would like
agree.
to. I would like to enjoy my life. I'm a multi-billionaire.
Keep sending me money, Google.
Keep sending me money, and I'm going to take some time off, and we're going to let Sundar be CEO. But he realized, I think, very occasionally, and by the way, the story is apparently this has been in the works for some time. Salman Kamagar proposed this years ago, and so they've been contemplating this. I think Larry said, I'm going to step down. I don't want the stock market to punish us. So here's what we're going to do. And in fact, the stock market loved this, by the way, because they'll get more information.
They loved it.
They loved it. And so I think this is actually really remarkable hand-waving to distract from what would have been a negative, which is Larry Page not running Google anymore.
I feel like it reflects reality, though. I mean, this is sort of the truth of it, is there's this core Google business that makes huge amounts of money, and then on the side, they've been investing in a lot of stuff, buying up other companies, and creating these kind of crazy idea companies to do the longevity research and the self-driving cars.
Absolutely being more honest about what they're doing, but that's not necessarily something you want to do in a business where you have a lot of money losers.
Then again, they control the company.
Nest loses money like crazy.
For all we know.
We will know that now because they're going to report Nest profits separately. So I think that this could be a real negative. By the way, I think Sundar Pichai is an excellent choice. He'll be a great CEO.
Yeah, he's sharp.
And really, the market would be wrong to punish a Google stock for Larry stepping down and Sundar taking over because I think Larry's bored. All right. My thought.
Larry's not that bored.
Now, John C. Dvorak will
if you call a
explain
few
this
venture
all.
capitalists, you find out a couple of things.
Yes.
One of them is that the two guys are preoccupied with Warren Buffett to the point where they're just obsessed.
Well, some have said this is like Berkshire Hathaway, but it isn't, is it?
It is. It's exactly like Berkshire Hathaway. And the
company.
reason is, it's very simple. They know that exactly what you said, that all these little companies like Nest, and if you go back to what Silicon Valley is all about, core competencies, those two guys don't know how to run a thermostat company. It's just that simple. They don't know how to run a car company. They don't know how to do a lot of stuff. The Berkshire Hathaway model, which is exactly what this is going to become, every one of these companies is separate. They're going to have their own CEOs. They said that. And they're going to report separately. And one of the little kickers to this whole thing is when somebody sent me a note about this. Oh, this is going to ruin all the little companies that they're starting because we could freely exchange executives, which is what they could do now. If you just go with just having divisions. Oh, let's have a division. Let's have a Nest division. Have some department guy run the thing. And then they have some problems. They have some economic issues. And they say, let's get Bill. He's the superstar. Bring him in for a couple of weeks and he'll straighten things out. They can't do that anymore. Now these companies stand alone, and the big fear of Google is the reflection in the wall. They know it can happen to them. They don't want to become Yahoo. That's the way Yahoo was run. They run these companies. They start these companies. They run them as divisions. They go broke, one after the other. Google's looked in the mirror. They said, we're not going to become Yahoo. We love the Warren Buffett model. We're going to become Berkshire Hathaway. That's why the market took a big jump. They said there's something to this, and that is what's going on. It's a Berkshire Hathaway model right to the core. At some point, they're going to spin off Android and Chrome, and Google will be separate. They're going to be Google, Android, Chrome, all little companies. Nest, its own company. All
it does
the rest
facilitate spin-offs for sure, right?
And
it's much easier.
And
to
you can
spin
also
off.
and you can also sell them or keep them, or you can do what Warren does, which is keep them for long term.
Michael A. Cusimano, who's a professor at MIT Sloan School of Management, says that comparison to Berkshire Hathaway is silly, John. He says Berkshire Hathaway, under Warren Buffett, invests in existing undervalued companies, kind of like a mutual fund, precisely the opposite of Alphabet's VC-style focus on risky new ventures. It isn't a Berkshire Hathaway in the way it's run.
So Nest is a company that Google started? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, but many of these are
Google and
autonomous vehicles, Calico. I mean, most of them, the Google X.
Yes.
All of those are Google started.
That's ending. It's all going for Berkshire Hathaway. This guy obviously hasn't taught. He's the East Coaster. They don't
doesn't know. He's MIT. What would he know?
Well, he wouldn't know this.
I don't know if I buy the Berkshire Hathaway argument. I mean, yes, it's a conglomerate in the same way that Berkshire Hathaway is. And
bought that much.
Maybe the Wall's right. Well, maybe Wall Street likes that because Berkshire Hathaway has done really well. But I mean, we had tons of conglomerates in the 60s and 70s, and it turns out that that's not in most cases. A very good way
I
to
would
run.
I would stop you there, because most of the conglomerates, especially in the late 60s, and they used to use this term, which is synergy. So you'd buy a company, you'd merge with them.
But history has not been kind to
No,
those.
that's right, and that's why they saw the writing on the wall. Synergy doesn't work. You can't just buy these companies up and then bring them in and make them divisions, because it never works. That old model is not the Berkshire Hathaway model. He sets these companies up as standalone. There's no synergy. There's no budget. There's not the executives switching spots. Oh, why don't you go here and work for them for a while? It's all standalone little companies. It's more of a trust, the old-fashioned trust from the 30s and 40s than it is the synergies from the 60s and 70s. I think you've got the wrong era.
Another guy, Vivek Wadhwa, a fellow with the Stanford Law School's Rock Center for Corporate Governance, says that this is actually a very interesting play, because some of these really speculative companies, like the self-driving car companies, have crossed the risk point. That they've gone through the investment mode, the risk mode, and they're now poised to become another Google. He says there are already 2 or 3 possible Googles in the portfolio. So that would actually be exactly to your point. This is a great way to kind of organize a structure like this and eventually spin these off or go public.
And when they talk about transparency, that's what they're talking about. You can't be fooling around with all these companies under the same umbrella and switching roles and doing all this stuff. That's not transparent.
It's not clear who's who. Yeah.
Now you got to stay. The company sinks or swims. Nest makes money or it doesn't. You can shutter them. You can sell them off to somebody else. You can do whatever you want. And that's what the transparency thing was all about when they talk about it.
Well,
that's what I like about this, is that it is. When they started this, they were just guys making a search engine, right? And this is the moment where they realized, look, we have so much money and we own so many different things, and they're not connected. In the long run, should this be one company that is just all mashed together? And this is them saying, no, we need to align this. We need to split these businesses off and let them be their own things. I think it's a really grown up kind of approach to it. That this is the rest of the of life for Larry and Sergey and their investments, is to not have them be in one company like when they started. I think it makes sense.
Now, the one drawback I see to the whole thing is that Warren Buffett is a great investor. Now, he did learn the hard way over the years. When in his early days, he didn't do that well.
But he's a value investor, right? I mean, that's
he's a value investor. But that doesn't mean that's the only model you can have. I don't know whether these guys can, maybe as a team, the two of them work together so well over the years that maybe as a team they can be a kind of a virtual Warren Buffett. That remains to be seen.
You know what they've shown? They've shown an ability to hire great people, great minds. But what's also been happening lately is those great minds have been moving on. Mm-hmm. They've been leaving. And this may have something to do with keeping people like, let's say, Vic Kudotra under the roof.
Right, that guy was going to go, and now he's a CEO. And now you have all these little companies. You can put CEOs in these spots. So there's an upward mobility.
Starts the brain drain here a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not a business show, but fortunately we have some smart business analysts. What does this mean, though, for the consumer? Does it mean anything?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Better not.
Nothing.
They say Alphabet's not going to be a consumer brand. You're never going to hear about Alphabet.
I think what it might mean for the consumer is some of the companies that are owned by Google, like I said, aren't necessarily going to have to do what Google wants. So, like, is Nest going to make a decision that maybe integrates with Apple's home networking stuff, which is something that maybe if they were under the thumb of Google, they wouldn't do, but as an independent entity, they're like, sure, whatever is right for your business. We could see stuff like that. I think that's the only kind of thing, and that's like 2 levels away from...
The other thing that bothers me is it feels like they cherry-picked. They did not spin off Android. They did not spin off YouTube.
Well, that's because that CEO character that you like...
Sundar Pichai.
Yeah. He was the head of Android, and he had a lot to do with Chrome, so they're not going to, pull him out right. I think that's YouTube, to come.
Okay, but YouTube's the weird one because YouTube already has its own CEO who's now within Google, which is within Alphabet. So, Susan Wojcicki is the CEO of YouTube, and YouTube arguably, if anything, could stand on its own. I mean, I think you could argue that Android and Chrome are kind of the same, and that they fit a lot with the Google services, but YouTube could absolutely be its own business, and in a lot of ways might even benefit from being its own business and out of the other thing. Because
Google would benefit because there's a lot of, in fact, part of the investigation comes from Google supposedly favoring its own properties. You don't want Google.
You don't think that's going to change, do you?
Well, but that's the point, is if YouTube can be spun off, maybe that takes some of the heat off of that.
Well,
who cares?
Regardless, it's weird to have a CEO under another CEO under a CEO.
But that's how it's been, hasn't it?
My
gut
there's
feeling
two
is
more
that this is about advertising, that they maybe are not as high on the future of just sort of text link ads on the web.
So that's Google's business is
and they are
advertising.
high on
Yeah.
YouTube as an advertising platform, and they've wanted to stick their ad businesses together as the best. I agree, it's weird, but that was the best that I could come up with.
Yeah.
No, and their ad businesses have been, YouTube's ad business has been Google's ad business since basically the beginning. I mean, they don't have separate YouTube only people. If you get on the phone with ad people at YouTube, you're talking to Google people. I'm just saying it's weird that like there's been this other layer now of reporting where I think she reports directly, probably still to Larry, rather than reporting to Sundar. But she's technically within another organization that has its own CEO, which is then within this greater parent organization. It's just that's just weird to me that they're saying that most of these companies will be split off, have these different entities, and have their own reporting structure, but it doesn't negate the fact that you could still technically have another company within one of these other companies that also has its own CEO. It's weird.
I'm sure that will be resolved.
John's article is in PC Mag at PCMag.com, and I intentionally didn't read it so that I would be
You
ignorant
never read
of
my
your
columns.
opinion.
I've noticed this.
No. In fact, I could write your columns because I know the words you use, like Screwball Ventures. That's just that's a John phrase.
Did I say Screwball Ventures?
Screwball Ventures.
I would say something like that. It's true. That's why I know I would never say newfangled.
Newfangled is not one of your words.
No.
Well, this is great. That's just the beginning. There's lots more to talk about. Samsung has some new devices. We have a great panel, a big panel, but I'm thrilled to have you all, including Christina Warren from Mashable. Nice to have you here. John C. Dvorak from the No Agenda Show. Is that really how I should identify you? How should I identify you?
You might as well.
Might as well. That's your thing now. By the way, congratulations to Adam, Podcaster Hall of Fame. And he was very kind. He very kindly mentioned me, and I appreciate that.
Yes, he thought that he should.
He didn't say that numbnuts Laporte or anything like that.
No, he didn't.
I was very impressed.
I talked him out of it.
Thank you. Thank him for me and congratulate him for me.
Yeah.
Jason Snell also here from sixcolors.com and The Incomparable.
Yes, we won one of those awards at that award.
Congratulations.
For the best entertainment podcast for The Incomparable. Yeah.
And rightly so.
Yeah, big heavy statue.
Yeah, I
they're
have
shipping
one.
to
I
me.
have a big heavy statue too. Yeah.
It's nice.
And Dylan Tweney, who is here from Fast Company and Tweney Media. Right?
VentureBeat.
What did I say?
and Tweney
VentureBeat.
Media.
Forget that other guy.
He's the VentureBeat guy.
VentureBeat. I am confused. Our show today brought to you by my doorbell. Not confused by that. I love it. In fact, it's funny. Anytime anybody comes to my front door, my phone rings now, which is awesome. I have the Ring video doorbell. When somebody rings my bell at home, no matter where I am, even here at work, I can see it, and I can even respond to them. I installed this myself, and I'm not the most handy of people, but I just love it that I was able to take off our old doorbell. We have a wired doorbell, so there were two wires coming out of the frame there, and I was able to wire that up. The Ring doorbell comes with all the hardware you need, so it makes it very easy, including the drill bits, the screws, even a level. But if you don't have wiring for a doorbell, you can use it too because it has a lithium-ion battery that will last a year built into it, a USB charging port. Now, what you get with the Ring Video Doorbell is this great wide-angle camera that talks to your smartphone, Android or iOS, and rings it when the doorbell rings, whether you're at home or on the road, anywhere on the internet. You can respond, you can talk, there's a speaker in there, you can hear what they're saying. It is a great way to kind of keep an eye on what's going on. What looks like somebody from Anonymous is visiting the house today. That's a little scary. This is on my, what the heck is going on there? These videos, by the way, are stored on Ring servers, and I could go back and look. Now, one of the nice features of this is for home security. It turns out 95% of burglaries occur during the day, and the burglar almost always rings your doorbell to see if you're home first. I have a clear picture of a creepy guy with a sword who's about to enter my house.
You need me to get on the horn to the
Looks
police?
like he rode up on a Segway.
Oh.
No, that's just Michael and his friend Bridget. But that's kind of the fun of it. You have a motion detector as well. So it's not just when somebody rings the doorbell. When somebody goes by my door, I can see it, and I've got these recordings online. I love it. It's ring.com/twit. It's normally $200. You get $10 off if you use our Twit offer code right now, ring.com/twit. Easy to install. As I said, I'm not a handyman, but I was able to do it myself very quickly and easily. Time Magazine named it one of their top 10 gadgets of 2014. I've tried them all. This one is the best. It has night vision LEDs, so it works at night. It has motion detection, so even if somebody doesn't ring the doorbell, you'll see them. It allows you to talk and listen to somebody at your door, whether you're at home or out of the house through the internet. Nice HD camera, too, with a big wide angle, so you really can see what's going on. I love it. It is very convenient. Ring.com/twit. Give it a try today. I've tried. There are a number of these products. This is the one. I've tried them all, and this is easily the best one out there.
We bought the Chime and actually just received that in the mail about 5 days ago. And that's the actual other part of the doorbell. So if you want a doorbell,
trying to figure out.
Right.
Oh, so they have a chime. So we had a chime.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a chime. So when I got the doorbell and it would just ring on my phone. Now, we have the chime plugged in the living room, so we actually get a tone inside as well, and that's connected to Wi-Fi as well. That's
we had
cool.
a chime, and the problem was I never heard the chime. People would ring the doorbell, I couldn't hear it. So now every device in our house has the software, and when it's a holy ruckus when somebody rings the doorbell, which is great. I never miss delivery again. It's really great. Ring.com/twit. So they have a Ring chime?
Yeah, it's called Ring Chime. And you plug it into a power outlet, and it connects to your Wi-Fi, and it'll do that doo-doo-doo, whatever.
So I could put other chimes in the house. That's great.
You can put them anywhere.
Cool. Boy, this was phone crazy this month. Lots of new phones. OnePlus One, a couple of weeks ago, announced the OnePlus 2. OnePlus announced the OnePlus 2, the successor to the OnePlus One. This week they announced it's going to be delayed because apparently the Type-C connector is wonky. Which is a little disappointing. I don't know if that's Type-C in general or their implementation.
And it's probably just theirs because we got a review unit, so at least some of them are working. It's probably just a manufacturing issue.
How do you like it? Have you played with it?
Yeah, I played with it. It's nice. It feels good in the hand. It has kind of this metalish side, but this very interesting textured back. I mean, it's a high-end Android phone made by a Chinese, company. It's, Oppo's doing some really good stuff. Obviously, Xiaomi, even though those don't really work in the U.S. Unless you're just on Wi-Fi. Huawei and ZTE have some good phones. Alcatel, but it's a really nice high-end phone, especially for its price. It's got basically all the specs you would want. My big question is, they've got all this attention that's on them, and they have this great fandom, which is awesome, and it is deserved to a certain extent. But they only sold 1.5 million of the last phones. So
right.
Like BlackBerry sold more phones than these guys. So for them to be more than just a minor player and really truly a blip, which is what they are right now, they're going to have to get the manufacturing system down. They're going to have to actually be able to put these things out in massive quantities and ship them, and they're going to have to be able to do better testing so that stuff like this USB Type-C thing isn't a problem, because this is the sort of thing that you usually would catch, if you were running more tests and more test runs on stuff.
John, you were using, I don't know if you're still using a Moto G, right?
No, I never used a Moto G.
I think you were using some cheesy phone.
I've always used cheesy phones.
This is the new Moto G, which I actually...
The Moto G is great.
I'm kind of blown away. $200 phone, out the door, unlocked. He's going to change it to Russian.
No, I'm not going to do anything.
It runs Android very nicely. It's virtually
a lot of Obama
Android
stuff on here.
What do you mean? No, that's a news story. That's not mine. That's Flipboard, my friend. But Motorola also has the new Moto X. In the U.S., it'll be called the Pure Edition. That's another phone. We don't know when that's going to be out. Sometime it says fall.
This is a nice phone.
I know. For the price, the Moto G is kind of amazing and great battery life. That's one thing I worry about with all of these phones is they're improving the screens, the faster processors, but they're not able to increase the battery much. The new Galaxy Note 4 from Samsung, slight increase in battery, but I worry that it's just going to have 8 hours battery life. How's that OnePlus 2? Is it because the OnePlus 1 was 20 hours easy?
Yeah, from what little we've had to kind of play with it, it's fine. Again, you're right. It doesn't have the super high resolution 4K screen, which is nice because that means that the battery is a little bit better.
It's 1080p. Right. This Moto G is 720p.
Which is perfect.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it seems solid. It's got a big battery in it. They've shoved a really large battery in it. I don't know about you guys. I keep thinking the only way we're going to actually get battery life to go to the next level is we're going to have to go nuclear.
A little power station in the back of the phone. You just took my phone apart. Now, this is something that OnePlus is doing as well, which is you get excited because you say, I could take the back off, but you can't take the battery out, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
I know, but it's so that you can customize it. Well, you could unscrew it. In fact, the OnePlus.
Can you get the battery out if you have to get
I
the
think
battery
you could.
out?
OnePlus, iFixit tore apart the OnePlus 2, and it was, once you took the screws out, there were like 19 screws. You could take the battery out, and it was sealed. This is just cosmetic, so you can put different backs on it. Same thing with the OnePlus 2.
Yeah.
But notice, and I think this may be the last phone
Where
available,
you can actually flip these
an
things in.
SD card. You can put an SD card in it.
Yep,
Yeah,
sure
there's
can.
An SD card and
No one else is doing that, right?
Right, because Google doesn't like it. And it's funny because when Motorola was under Google, because it makes it hard for the operating system to know if you've got a card installed or not.
Oh, it's so much work for the operating
Well, it's
system.
a security issue, too. In fact, the
security
Android
issue, too.
5 really restricts what you can do. If somebody creates a folder, if a program creates a folder, nobody else can look at that folder and all sorts of hardships. So the SD cards are of less use on the latest versions of Android than they've been in the past.
But
store a lot
obviously
of
people
photos.
like to be able to have them. Yeah, people,
that's what
people
I
like
do.
to be able to have them for media, photos, things like that, music. But it was funny because the very first Moto G didn't have a card slot. Neither did the Moto X because those were released under Google. And then as soon as Lenovo bought them, like with the
The
very
first thing they did. What are you doing? You want my SIM?
No, just I can't get it back in.
He's already cloned it.
He's like, it's like giving your phone to a monkey.
Yeah,
like-
exactly.
No, it's more dangerous because all the monkey will do is throw it. This guy is too smart. He's
I
taking it
would
apart.
throw it.
It's assembled. You know, one cool thing though, I had to go. The Moto G uses a regular micro SIM, not a nano SIM like Apple does. And of course, I had to cut down my SIM for a
that's
nano
what you
SIM.
did. That's why I won't.
But T-Mobile now, when you get a SIM, they have it comes like in 3 sizes on one SIM card.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, which is nice.
Isn't that great? And you just save the frame, and you can make it as any size you want down the road. But now, of course, it's stuck. So
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
yeah, it's okay. I expect it, John, and
No.
it's okay because I have other phones on the way. This is one of the frustrations of this particular time of year is if you,
All these phones. What are you gonna do?
Phone season.
I got to buy like.
It is phone season.
And Lisa says, "No, you have to buy it." I said, "I don't want to buy it." She says, "You have to buy this so we can review them."
There you go.
So I've spent
You got it working again.
thousands.
Good for
Yeah, I
you.
did. I've spent thousands of dollars. Note 5, I got that on order. That'll be out in the next week or so. That
Yeah,
looks
it'll be on the 21st.
that looks
It's
pretty.
awesome. I mean, they copied Apple. It's beautiful.
Did you go to the event?
I did.
How was that for you?
It was fine. It was funny because they made this big deal about how it was going to be very exclusive and intimate. It was going to be hard to get into. They did it at Lincoln Center. First of all, the place was like half full. It was like maybe 3/4 full by the time the event started.
Really?
So
That's
it
pretty
was-
exclusive.
That's depressing. Jeez.
Well, it kind of was because when they've done it before at like Radio City, like there were like throngs of people. This was one of those things. Lance Ulanoff, who I work with, he showed up at 8:00 in the morning for something that started at 11.
Oy.
I did not do that. I got there at like 10 because I'm not dumb and I knew that it would be fine.
So you're saying Lance is dumb? Is that what you said?
Yes, I am. I am saying Lance was dumb. to
Your
get there at 8
boss
a.m.
Good.
is dumb.
That's
I
okay.
was saying he was dumb to get there at 8 a.m. Not saying he's obviously smarter than me. He was dumb to get there at 8 a.m. And he was annoyed because he was sitting there for 3 hours before the event started. They had the event. It was really quick, 45 minutes, and then we had hands-on time with the phone. Both phones look great. The S6 Edge Plus. Say that 3 times fast, and of course the Note 5. The Note 5 looks fantastic.
They feel like they're the same. They're the same phone with a few exceptions. Both 5.7-inch screens. The Edge, of course, is bent. The Note 5 has a touch, multi-touch, or a multi-pressure surface and a pen. But otherwise, in every other respect, they seem like the same phone.
They're similar. I mean, the Note 5 is a little bit larger. I think that they're about the same kind of surface area, but the Note 5 is a little bit larger. It's interesting because they made a big deal to point out that it has a bigger screen than the iPhone 6 Plus, but takes up a smaller amount of space. I mean, it's very, very slight, but it is very, very slightly
iPhone 6
smaller
Plus
than
is
the iPhone 6
5.5 inches. This is 5.7.
No.
But
Right.
narrower bezels mean you can
exactly, but physical space.
Too many
it ends up
phones
being
out there.
Less space.
My point
So,
exactly. It's overwhelming.
4 gigs of RAM on both of them. The cameras look really nice. They've got this new mode called Live Broadcast, which lets you broadcast
Now
directly
that's
to YouTube.
interesting. It lets you broadcast to YouTube Live.
Yes.
Only Samsung does this right now, right? But I've got to think this is this is something
Yeah,
YouTube's going to extend to other companies eventually,
As they
right?
should. But what's smart about it is that they have it built into the camera app. So, you open up the camera app. It's unfortunately not as easy as just having one really easy to access button. You've got to go through a couple of levels of settings to get to it. But it is in the built-in camera app, so you don't have to have a third-party app to launch it.
So it's
which I
like
think is
Meerkat or Periscope, except unlike
It is.
those, it preserves it on YouTube after the fact.
Right. Well, and YouTube is obviously going to be better for that sort of thing because it has a better infrastructure in place and presumably, has a bigger audience. So, plus, not having to open up a third-party app, I think, is a way that could bring it to the masses a lot easier.
Did they intimate that this was some exclusive deal they'd made with YouTube? Or
they didn't make it clear that it was exclusive in any way, but it certainly was something they were touting as their own. But I mean, YouTube has obviously been doing this live video stuff for a while. This is just, I think, a smarter implementation. But I would be surprised if I didn't see similar things from other manufacturers in the future. But I think this is one of those things where Samsung is trying to kind of show the power of their ecosystem and, hey, why should you get us versus one of the other brands? Well, we can offer these types of experiences, including, this live YouTube functionality built into the camera.
I had a weird device from HTC. Remember that little periscope-y thing called the Re?
Oh, that was weird.
That let you stream directly to YouTube Live.
Yeah,
I mean, anybody can do it if you've got the right software, and I think it's clever of Samsung to just build it into their camera.
So it's not really that they have some special arrangement.
No, you can do that. A lot of people do that to do live stream of games as an alternative to Twitch.
By the way, YouTube loves that.
Yeah,
they've created a Let's Play portal now, and they're really pushing that.
Yeah, and all the live stuff gets automatically archived to YouTube, which is also great. So you just need to do the work to write the software that puts the video in the right formats and does all of that, which good for Samsung for doing that.
I feel like I would use that. I would instead of periscoping or Meerkat, I would YouTube to my personal channel. If I weren't on the air all the freaking time anyway.
You're on too much.
Yeah, you've got your personal channel.
I want to retire and do it on my camera phone. All right, so we think this will be a success. Samsung had a lot of trouble with the Edge? Is it not, or the S6, has it not sold well?
Well, I think they had a problem with their yields is what it was. I think that they thought that the 6 was going to sell better than it did, and the Edge was going to be, kind of the one people didn't want. At least on the streets of New York, I see the Edge all the time. I don't see the 6 as much.
I love the Edge. I bought the Edge because it's
great. Exactly.
Pretty.
It's pretty, and it's. I mean, look, the Edge is no longer aesthetically doesn't really have a use, but it doesn't have to. It's a good
no, and in fact,
it feels very gimmicky to me.
Sorry, I just it wasn't my fault.
Telling you like a monkey.
The Edge is definitely gimmicky, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Well, and in fact, I find I love the Edge. There's three things that made me stop using the Edge. One is that the Edge is live, so it's hard. You have to kind of hold it like with little pinch your fingers, or you accidentally do stuff on the Edge. That screen goes all the way around. It's a little frustrating. Yo, where'd you find that? Did you download something new?
Yes.
Okay, just questioning. And then, thank God, I've got more phones coming. Would you like that phone?
Yes, I'd love it.
All right. After you screw it up, you can have it.
Yes.
Oh, my God. But the other things I didn't like about it, the battery life was excurable. Is that a word, excurable?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's got the problem that other Samsung phones, Android phones, have had for me of weird hesitations. That now Android doesn't have, like this doesn't have it.
No,
and this is a much slower. This Moto, the much slower processor, much less going on there. Samsung's got this octa-core dual processor, two dual quad processors, and I think there's some weird handoff going on in the Edge 6 because
probably do the NSA.
Maybe it's the NSA just saying, "Hey, hold on a second. Let me write that down. What you just said." Anyway,
I think it's the crap that Samsung loads on there. HTC does the same thing. You can't get a phone from them without a ton of like crazy, contact management apps that you don't want, and all kinds of weird stuff. So
have you guys experienced that with these Samsung devices or the HTC devices? This weird hesitation and. You feel like it should be super snappy responsive because this thing is like a beast.
HTC, yes. I haven't seen it on Samsung.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially once you've used it for a couple of weeks and more cruft builds up. Dylan's exactly right. Yeah. It's the TouchWiz for Samsung's case or the Sense in HTC's case. Having those skins on top really is a bad thing, which is one of the many reasons Google is trying to get people to move away from the skins, security being
security number one, of course.
Number one. but it hinders performance, and it's problematic for a lot of reasons. But you also understand why the companies want it, because, for instance, Samsung, that's how they're able to have that built into the camera. Now, you could argue they could just build their own camera app and not have to have their own, ridiculous skin. But they need something that shows, oh, we're differentiated. This is us. You use our product, don't use someone else's. But the net result, I think, for users is that it's negative.
One thing I will say about Samsung and their Note is that they really have nailed the Note form factor. And it's funny because a lot of tech people, myself included, thought that it was ridiculous when it first came out, when Samsung first came up with the idea of this, what seemed like at the time a gigantic phone with a stylus. We're like, who's going to carry this around? You're just going to look like a dork. But it's funny, I see a lot of people carrying the Note, and often as not, they're like tiny little women with this giant phone, and they usually have it in like a folder or something like that. But they take notes with it. They play games with it. I see them on the train all the time.
You know why?
Life's a comedy.
No, they have purses.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, it depends on the size of your purse.
That's exactly it.
If I had a thing that I slung over my arm that I could carry big phones in, it would be much more appealing.
That's a good answer.
Totally. Well, it's true, except unless we're talking about like a clutch. This is my problem with the phablets. It's fine for my regular purse, right? It's completely fine with that. My clutch does not fit. So for me, if I'm going out, a clutch is your smaller handbag, where you maybe can fit a credit card, a lipstick, and sometimes and a small phone. So it doesn't fit my baby clutch, and so phablets are out for me.
I fell in love with the Note right away and started carrying it. I've had all the Notes since the original Note, and I'm looking forward to, I bought the new Note 5, but I'm just worried about the Samsung cruft. To their credit, Samsung is updating for stage fright. I've been pushed out updates on the Edge, on my Note 4, and the Zimperium and Lookout apps, which find stage fright on Android devices, both say those phones are okay. That Moto G is not. It has not been patched. I know. Is that vocal fry?
I don't know what this is.
Okay. Get this. This is exactly why Android is so dangerous. People go onto the Play Store and they download things like this, hundreds of buttons and sounds. And it's probably written by some Russian hacker.
It could be.
And it purports to play sound effects. However, what it really is doing, of course, is infecting the phone.
Maybe.
With malware aplenty.
Yeah, just the way it goes.
John also brought this. Actually, this is cool. I'll trade you. This is a PC.
Yeah.
And with an HDMI port on the end. This is the Intel stick.
Oh, is that the compute stick?
Yeah.
I love that.
Did you buy this? Get it?
I'll tell you this. It actually it's a little underpowered for a lot of things. It's only 10 watts total that you can ever use.
Well, because it's getting its.
No.
Oh, it has a USB port for power.
Yeah, but it also has a little power supply that's 10 watts. The USB doesn't provide that much.
Oh, okay.
But it will boot with the USB. But if you put like a little standalone hard disk or something, it just kills it. But
I noticed you have a little micro SD card in there for storage, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
I use it. It hooked my entire podcast rig up to it, and it worked fine.
So you're doing no agenda show on that?
I was going to.
Then
I put this little SD card in, and apparently the overhead of maintaining this.
Just that much?
Yeah.
Just that much.
It's very
difference.
delicate.
It's so close.
Yeah.
Is it running Windows 10? What's it running?
Yes.
Yeah.
Windows 10 is it's $150. It's a winner.
That's kind of impressive, isn't it?
I'm actually impressed that it works at all.
Yeah.
I'm impressed it works at all. It does.
And you plug this in. You can't add storage to it. What does it actually?
It has a USB.
No,
it has a full-size USB.
There's micro SD.
You could,
but that brings it to its knees.
That's
John.
not true. What
well,
you can do is
you
plug the USB port into. It's got a USB port and a USB power port. You plug the USB port into a hub, and then you plug a powered hard disk, one of the big monsters, like a 5 terabyte drive that has its own power supply, and it's fine.
Huh?
It'll work fine. Huh. Just the ones that rely on USB power.
But by that time now you've got a.
Yeah, well, except you can't find your PC.
You got a bunch of stuff.
And you can put it in your pocket.
No,
so people say, is that
given that HDMI TVs are so cheap, this is kind of an interest. And you could bring it to a hotel and use it because most hotels have
There's room to
TVs.
put Word and Microsoft Office on here. It's got like, I think, sorry? 60,
I was just going to say, it's like 64
64 megs of built-in memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's a nice
So you're walking into a hotel room with this thing in your pocket, but you have to have a keyboard and a mouse and your powered external hard drive in your bag.
If you want to say something like that, yes. It's dumb. But it is small.
Sounds kind of like a laptop in like a bunch of different pieces.
Yeah.
Well, it's just kind of cool.
It's running an Atom
it is
processor.
cool.
Yeah. Well, it's smart of Intel because it's just
Well, there's
one
the
more way to
experience. They
sell
didn't
stuff.
want to get me one of these. I've been playing with the new Nux, and those are actually
I think the
very
Nux are
usable.
actually compelling. Those are hockey puck-sized computers.
They work, and they have about 65 watts, so they got more power, so they can power stuff. And I actually, now the No Agenda show is run off a NUC.
Yuck, 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 yuck. What a surprise.
So it runs...
Run on a NUC.
It runs on a NUC, and I got like a nice big screen. I've got the AMA audio stuff runs off the NUC. Everything runs fine.
Samsung also announced that they will launch Loop Pay, which is they bought Loop Pay. That was a crazy little startup that was emulating touch to pay by sending electrical signals to swipe machines as if you were swiping a card. And I guess they're going to build that into these new Galaxy phones. It's a little late. If something has NFC, you're probably good enough. I don't think I think most stores will have touch to pay soon.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, there's the cutoff to have to do chip and pin stuff is in October, unless you want to be fined. So yeah, it's a little late, but you can imagine there will be a lot of places that will, be still on legacy machines or maybe won't have stuff rolled out. Yeah. But it will also still work with NFC, presuming, depending on in those cases, it'll probably be Android Pay. But I'm with you. I had the exact same reaction that you have. I was like, this is a little late, guys. What's the point of this? It is cool that they can tokenize the, MST stuff, but I'm not a big fan of anything that's encouraging anybody to still use magnetic sensors.
You know what's funny is what really is late is currency, which is this Walmart attempt to circumvent credit card companies and collect information about you on their own. And of course, they signed up a lot of merchants. In fact, CVS very famously pulled their touch terminals out.
Yep.
When Apple Pay came out because they thought not allowed to use Apple Pay. CVS, by the way, has announced that they are bringing back Apple Pay.
So CVS or Rite Aid? I thought that was Rite Aid.
Is it Rite Aid? CVS is still not using it.
Yeah, but yes, I think that's right.
I can't remember. No, CVS is going to bring in Apple Pay.
Yeah, I think Rite Aid is too now.
Yeah, Rite Aid too.
The current C alliance is
falling
crumbling
apart as we speak.
Yes.
And this is really ridiculous because, as I understand it, it isn't, in fact, touch or swipe. It's QR codes.
Yeah. So you've got to call up an app with a barcode and have them scan it. But in exchange for that inconvenience, they get more of your data. So why would you not want to do it?
Great trade-off.
Exactly. You get the loyalty card right there. I mean, it's like, or you could have the loyalty card built into the wallet, which then transmit over NFC. It's like it's idiotic. Yeah, you're exactly right, Jason. But everybody wants QR codes because we all feel better about that because QR codes have been so successful.
That story that you were citing, Leo, says something like won't launch until next year. I think it may be at the point where it won't ever launch. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay, you win. Well, the whole thing is falling apart. Here's the weirdest part, by the way, of the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge
the keyboard.
Plus.
Oh, I love this.
And the Note 5 or whatever.
It's so terrible.
It has now. This is a case.
Yes, it's a capacitive screen. It's not like the Typo, which was a Bluetooth keyboard little add-on. This is actually something that fits. It's a case that fits on the top, and then it uses the capacitive screen to go over like where the keyboard presses. So you're pressing your fingers on the keys, and then that's pressing through onto the screen. And
so
then
in effect, it's typing for you, like
little fingers
underneath.
So that's exactly what it is, which means it's a terrible experience. I spent a few minutes with it at the event, and I was just laughing my butt off.
It's really bad, huh?
So bad.
But you can flip it away on the back where it's out of the way.
Right, which is cool, and I get that, and that's fine, and I understand the benefits of not wanting to have a Bluetooth device and this and that. But if you're going to do this, the Typo was at least clever in that it was a Bluetooth keyboard, so it was acting independently from sitting on top of.
Isn't like a good idea, right? But it was just unfortunate that it imitated the BlackBerry a little too much.
Isn't that what it was for? For these
Yeah.
BlackBerry addicts that have to have that thing, or
That's
they
exactly
can't.
who it was for, but they didn't bother to license from BlackBerry, so they got sued.
Oh, that's
BlackBerry
Ashton Kutcher's.
Should have made one of those.
Or no,
No,
it wasn't
Ryan-
Ashton.
Oh,
it was,
it's Ryan Seacrest.
Ryan Seacrest. I confuse all of those
Seacrest,
under
yeah.
30.
Ah, some Hollywood guy.
Some Hollywood guy. and by the way, this is going to be $80.
Too high.
So not only does it not work,
No,
it costs
I
too
think.
much.
They made something like this for the
Guaranteed you'll
iPhone too. The same thing. It's just you slide over, you lose screen space.
Yeah.
But it'll push. It'll be your little fingers for you.
Raymond Wong says the Samsung Galaxy Note 5 keyboard cover is awful. Get a BlackBerry Classic if you want a real keyboard. At least you could still buy a BlackBerry.
Yeah, for now.
So you played with it, not impressed.
No, I mean Ray. I was standing next to Ray when he made that Vine, and we were both just laughing our butts off.
Terrible.
So terrible.
So, you think Samsung has a future in the phone business?
Yeah. I mean, they're going to outlive
don't,
HTC.
who does?
They should spin it out to Alphabet. Yeah, HTC is gone.
HTC's
right?
gone.
We can
HTC
assume that they're you know
going
what's
to be.
going to keep HTC alive is they have the best virtual reality headset, the Vive, and they're working with Steam, which is the best PC gaming company. So that might keep them alive.
That might keep them alive.
but the
I mean, they're laying up. Yeah, they're
M9 just
what-
didn't sell at all. It was terrible.
no. I mean, they laid up 15% of their staff. They're dead.
So Microsoft has written off its $7.6 billion purchase of Nokia, so that's gone.
That was a good idea.
It seems like Apple is, would think that over time Apple would face competition and people would rise up. It feels like Apple just owns this, like it's done.
Yeah.
In fact,
Well, I mean-
Android's market share in the U.S. has, for the first time in some time, slipped.
Yes, since 2011. It is the lowest percentage, lowest number of users since 2011. And it's interesting. I think that what happened was, we were talking earlier, Dylan was mentioning how good of a job Samsung has done with the Note. And I do think they deserve credit for inventing the phablet market. And a lot of people made fun of it, myself included. And I still do think that phablets are too big for me, but I won't disagree that it's become kind of the standardized size for a lot of people. But even though Samsung kind of invented that category by simply releasing the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus, I think Apple kind of gave a ton of people what they were looking for, which was they missed the iPhone, but they wanted a bigger screen. And it's really hard to compete with that when you're in a market like the U.S., which is at this point basically saturated. So it's not like you've got a lot of people who are buying a smartphone for the first time. Almost everybody is buying a replacement phone. And so you're either going to remember your positive experiences you might have had with an iPhone, or kind of the kludgy experiences you might have had with various Androids. And if Apple's going to offer you something with a bigger screen, and if carrier subsidies are going away and they're all going to cost the same anyway, why wouldn't you buy an iPhone?
That's the other news, by the way, that Verizon will follow in T-Mobile's steps and eliminate the subsidy. I imagine AT&T and Sprint can't be far behind. I mean,
Yeah, AT&T's already phasing it out,
Yeah, they?
basically.
Yeah.
Replacing it with a payment plan.
Okay, so
Yep.
so
The one thing.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Android may be at its lowest numbers in years, but it still has the vast majority of the market
Globally.
In the
Globally,
world,
right?
yes,
Globally.
absolutely.
globally.
But that's cheap. That's 20.
But even in the U.S., I think it still has more than 50%. I could be
Does it?
Wrong.
What
I'm
are
not
the
looking
numbers?
at the
It's
trying
like
to find the
53
numbers.
versus like 46 or something. But they've fallen. It's the lowest
Yeah.
it's been in the U.S. since 2011, and
So
then
I think
a problem.
This is the problem, I think, is that Android phones are much cheaper, right? So if you don't have a lot of money, you're going to buy an Android phone. But the problem
Can't
is
blame me
they
for
get
that.
to that by having really narrow margins, right? So Apple's making all these profits. All these other companies are making cheaper phones, but they're not profitable. So it's really hard to sustain a business for more than a few years if
How
you're
about,
not making
how
money.
about this? This is a company that was founded by Tom Moss and Mike Chan, and the guy who designed the HTC One, Scott Croyle, funded by Google Ventures. It's called NextBit. They say come September 1st, they're going to have a $300 or $400 Android smartphone that will get better over time. Oh,
Of course it will.
How's that going to
Yeah,
work?
never buy a technology product when they promise you new features later.
Exactly.
I agree with
Will
that. They
never
don't remember
happen.
the upgradable PCs. None of this stuff ever works. By the way, you're
Subtext,
still
it's
ignoring
gonna
this
suck
$200
today.
guy right here.
huh?
What's wrong with just this? $200.
I've been very happy, and I get all-day battery life. It's got 40% when I go to bed, and I use it heavily, and so
That's
Well,
the
that's-
greatest threat to Samsung,
Yeah.
I think. Because I was going to say Samsung's going to be okay because they make really good high-end phones, and And if you don't want an iPhone, you want an Android phone, the Samsung phones are pretty good.
They're beautiful.
And the last year, they've really turned over their industrial design. They are beautiful. They are solid competitors to the hardware that Apple comes out with. The danger is that somebody's going to look at those Samsung phones and then look at a phone like this and be like, yeah, why would I spend more money? This is great. And
I agree.
Then
and
where's
the
Samsung?
Moto X is going to be less expensive too, a few hundred, $300, $400.
And that's before we even talk about the fact that some of these Chinese manufacturers are actually Xiaomi, if they can get into the United States, if Xiaomi can get into the US, that's a problem because they're these high quality premium products. I mean, even the
you know what it tells me? We've been overpaying for phones for the last 4 years, and I wonder if there's pressure on Apple, which is charging. I mean, my last iPhone 6 Plus was almost $1,000.
You got nothing but money, apparently.
Outrageous.
Well, then
admittedly, I loaded it up with memory, but it's still outrageous that
it's outrageous, but it's also fashion.
It doesn't cost them that much to make.
She's right. It's fashion.
Fashion, and so there's a certain percentage that you will pay more for a brand than you will for just specs. I mean, and that's just the nature of the game. If you're seen as a premium high-end product, which is how Apple has always marketed themselves, then I think you can get away with charging more. The problem is if you are a company like and you're having plastic phones, which is what they had before, the most recent revisions, going up against metal phones that are better spec'd, have better screens, and cost half as much. And then it's a problem because you don't have the cachet of an Apple where somebody can say, well, yeah, I spent $1,000 on it, but it's an iPhone.
You know what else is cool about this Moto G? You can go underwater and take video with it.
How often have you needed to do that?
Well, if you're in a pool and you want to get underwater video, it's waterproof for
completely waterproof.
It says up to 3 meters for half an hour. It's IPv7.
Huh?
The Apple Watch.
Just dumping in some water.
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Never has said that.
Moto G actually works really well in water.
It's supposed to work really well. You have to start the video before you go underwater because the touch screen stops working, I guess, when it's wet. But I mean, it starts again after you get it out of the water. It's not a permanent thing. Anyway, I'm intrigued by this next bit. It feels like because the cell companies in the U.S. are not going to subsidize, people are going to be aware of what they're actually paying for phones. Yeah, maybe that won't hurt iPhone, but it's going to hurt everybody else. So everybody's going to start selling phones for a lot closer to what they actually cost.
That's a really good point because people up till now, people don't even pay attention to what the phone
They're all
costs.
$200.
$200 down in a contract, right? Yeah.
I wonder if it'll hurt Apple too, though. I mean, fashion is a small market.
I mean, it might.
It's a big market, actually.
Is it?
Yeah,
huge.
I was gonna say, it's bigger than you would think. I don't know. What's I guess vexes me is that so many of these companies, as Dylan was saying, they have no margins, and so they're selling these at these low costs, and they're not making any money. And one of the reasons they can get away with doing that now is that the Chinese government is willing to throw a bunch of money at these Chinese-owned
but
firms,
you look
right?
at like the OnePlus, and the support is so bad because they can't afford to have good support.
Exactly, and so. My question is, what happens if China decides to stop doing that, or things kind of go awry, and what does that do to the price? You said before, we've been overpaying for our phones the last 4 years. I don't think we've been overpaying. I think one of the reasons the prices have gone to the point where they are now, no one is making any money. If anything, people are losing money on these devices, but they've been able to get away with it because they're getting money from other places, whether it's the government or investors or something else. But if that dries up, then what happens?
Cadman in our chat room says that usability is important and Apple still has it. I don't feel that way, but maybe that's just me. I feel
you hate Apple.
No, I don't hate Apple. I love Apple. You notice how many Macs I own?
You like the Mac.
I love the Mac. I feel like the iPhone is a little behind on usability. I think it's suffered a little bit from not keeping up with.
You think Android is better?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. We already had this conversation. He thinks it's objectively better.
I think it's objectively better.
Right.
Well, you want me to really piss everybody off? I also think the Apple Watch is a utter flop.
Where is your Apple Watch? You used to wear it.
No argument from me on that.
I feel like smartwatches in general are a category. I thought Apple might, as they have in the past, figure out how to make the watch work as a wearable, and I think no, they didn't. In fact, Apple Watch is more finicky and twiddly. And annoying than Android. They're
Who
both
in the audience
bad.
has an Apple Watch?
Two people.
Heil Apple.
3 people. And then, of course, Jason Snell does.
I'm flopping over here, just flopping around over here.
I completely acknowledge that there are people who love it and want it and will have it. But I feel like that's not going to be a big audience. because they're not that useful and they're annoying. They make you stand up every hour. At exactly 10.
That I love.
You love it that at 50, no matter what you're doing, you could be running at 50 minutes into the hour. It says stand up. It's moronic.
I love it. I love.
So what else do you like about the watch?
There are some good things, and I think WatchOS 2.0 is still an unknown quantity. It might make a difference. But I have to say, expecting as I was some real innovation from Apple on this watch, I am not seeing it.
I remember you actually predicting your opinion.
Well, I could predict my opinion.
You predicted your opinion. Before the watch came out, you never thought it was going to be a big winner. You had nothing but doubts.
No, that's not true. I was, as I am today, saying, well, we'll see. WatchOS, maybe you'll fix this. But I was hopeful that Apple would solve this conundrum of how do you make something usable that's that small. I think that's the real conundrum. And I don't think Force Touch does it. I think that the knob doesn't. Do you really like that, Jason?
I really do.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I do. It works for me, but it doesn't have to work for everybody. I think that's the point. I think a lot of the problems with that you're having with the Apple Watch are
it's not the iPhone.
Expecting it to be something that it's
iPhone.
never going to be. It's an iPhone accessory. It's going to appeal to certain people. That appeal may expand over time,
right.
But if you were looking for another iPhone, it's not going to be that.
It's not going to be that level of success.
No, but I like it.
Ever.
It's and my wife wants one, and she was totally skeptical about it. And she wants it. Well, she keeps her phone in her purse, and when she's at work, if I send her a text, and she's a librarian, if she's out in the stacks,
that's a good use case.
She can't get a notification because she doesn't have her phone with her.
Chris, who wears one of our interns, says that even though he doesn't have his phone with him, he's been getting messages because of the Wi-Fi capability, which is kind of
Hail Apple.
Yeah, all hail Apple, and that's the salute. Right?
It is a salute, exactly.
It's a Hydra sort of thing.
Yeah.
Apple. All right, we'll talk a little bit about Apple because, of course, the rumor is strong in this one that September 9th will be the day. We know it's always, it's always the first week of September. It's not much of a guess. What will they release? We'll talk about that.
What?
I don't know. We're going to take a break. All right, little time off for good behavior, John. He hasn't played a sound effect in a whole 5 minutes.
Well, you mean one of these?
Yeah, no, stop. I will give you that. I am going to give you this phone.
Well, after you're sick of it.
No, now, because I'm getting a new phone soon, any minute now. And I got like 8 new phones on the way.
Here they come.
And I don't want, but you will love this phone. I thought you had, what did you have? I thought you had a Moto G for the longest time.
No, I'm still using the Galaxy Nexus.
Oh my God.
It's
God,
great.
get him.
Check this thing out.
Oh my God.
It hasn't got a scratch on it. I mean, this thing is 10 years old.
He literally has the Galaxy, what is that? The Nexus?
The Nexus.
That's the one phone Samsung made for Google.
This is
what Android? Is it up to 511?
It's still in the 4s. But it's beside the point. Who cares? This phone has never gotten a scratch. It's never broken. It's got a good sound, and it's got a high resolution screen, pretty much same as the Apple 6.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? Buy new phones every 5 minutes?
No. Why should you?
But I will move to that one.
It bugs the hell out of me that I have to buy all these phones.
Uh-huh.
All right. Let's take a break. Dylan Tweney is also here. Great to have you, Dylan. From beautiful San Mateo, California, where it is burning up. He is a VentureBeat columnist and founder of Tweney Media. Jason Snell of Six Colors and the Incomparable. Nice to have you. Apple Watch fan.
Well, owner and user.
Owner and fan.
Okay.
You like it?
I do like it.
You like it?
Yeah.
You don't have Renee Ritchie's problem of he has like 100 bands now.
He has some serious
band
buying problems. Yeah, no, I got one, and I do have another band for it. I have the fancy leather band.
Inexpensive. Oh, you do?
I do.
Nice.
Just the one though.
Because Christina just bought the fancy pink band.
I did. I'm so excited.
Why are you excited about that band? Because you paid $250 for about $5 worth of plastic.
Happily.
Okay. Why?
I do not care. Fashion.
I guess this is what I don't understand, because I am not, as you can tell, a fashion-forward kind of guy. I don't understand fashion. You wanted the pink. I thought you got the pink. You wanted the pink.
No, I wanted the pink originally, and I changed my order so I could get the watch before like middle of June. So in order to get the watch, the first week of May, I got just the regular black classic buckle, so the regular black leather band, and then I got some. I've been using this summer. I've been using the sport band, the white sport band, and I really like that. And finally on Friday, finally, after like months of waiting, the modern buckles are available to order, and it should be shipping to me between August 25th and September 2nd. I'm so excited.
It's $250. That doesn't bother you.
Not the slightest.
Not at all.
I didn't even blink. No. It is what it is.
See, I've been buying those cheap, like $35 knockoffs, which fit fine and work fine.
Which I think are fine. And if I could find a good-looking one that had like it's the magnetic clasp that I really like, and I will probably end up buying a bunch of the cheap ones, which I will have no problem doing.
The classic buckle is not a buckle; it's a magnetic clasp.
The modern buckle is like a
buckle.
clasp. Modern buckle is like this great magnetic clasp thing. It's really pretty.
The classic buckle is the one you're thinking
Classic
of.
buckle is a buckle.
That's
The
what I
modern
have.
buckle is a buckle in name only.
Yes.
Do you
It's like
think?
it's leather clasp that connects to the ends. It's great.
In the future, all buckles will be clasps.
Our show today brought to you by Carbonite Online Backup. We had a call today on the radio show. Made me sad. Somebody had lost all his data. I can't remember what happened. It was not good. I know. He had a RAID array. He had a what we call scary RAID array, RAID 0 array. It was striped for speed. And, of course, one of the drives crashed and all his data crashed. Carbonite. If you are in business especially, you've got to go to Carbonite. They make data backup for the hands-on business owner, hands-free. Automatic cloud backup, secure. It's encrypted on the way, encrypted in place at Carbonite. Round-the-clock protection at work. Oh, and at home, too. In fact, you see they've got some good deals on the personal plans right now. If you use the offer code TWIT, you'll get 2 bonus months free when you sign up. Carbonite. More than 1.5 million people now, including 70,000 businesses, trust Carbonite for round-the-clock protection of business files, databases, documents. You know, a lot of those people have started using Carbonite at home, too. I do, both home and work. Keep track of my photos and my music and all of that stuff. Carbonite.com. Get 2 bonus months free when you use the offer code TWIT. For those people moving to Windows 10, painless when they had Carbonite because they don't have to worry about their data. They just, getting a new computer, same thing. You just log onto your Carbonite account. There's all your stuff. Carbonite.com. Use the offer code TWIT. 2 months free with purchase. You got to back it up to get it back. So do it right with Carbonite. Everybody has left. Show the panel. Dylan, it's you and me. Everybody.
What did I miss, Leo?
I don't know. They all disappeared. They literally all got up to go. You know what? This would be a good time.
Ice water.
Go get some ice water, Dylan.
I did. I'm back now with my ice water. I'm ready to go.
Oh, good. This would be a good time maybe to check in and see what you missed this week on Twit.
On Twit.
What up? What? Man, things got really weird today.
This week in Google.
What does alphabet mean to Google?
I guarantee you it'll get cited as, see, Larry Page wants to take over the world and do all these huge things. I don't think there's some gigantic secret agenda to this. I think it's what it appears to be, which is freedom to innovate.
This week in computer hardware.
The big story, 16 terabyte SSD from Samsung. This is the largest drive, period. Not just the largest SSD, but the largest drive you can buy or will eventually be able to buy when they ship it.
Know-how.
They did a presentation called Hacking a Linux-Powered Rifle. They figured out the way that credentials are passed over the scope, it's horribly insecure. So they rooted in, and they were essentially able to affect the variable. And suddenly you're actually shooting at something else.
All about Android.
Someone's got to move up to take over the Android program group.
Or does Sundar stay in this role, but for everything? He's a superhero.
The S stands for Sundar. He's a superhero. Sundar man.
Twit. Technology for your eyes and ear holes.
Sundar Man to the rescue.
Hey.
What?
You're not supposed to embarrass the guests by telling you that we abandoned the show.
We're back.
Oh, you're all back.
We were always
you should
here.
have gone right
We were
to the house
always
ad.
here.
You should have gone to the house ad.
They
That
never
is
left.
so
I lied.
unprofessional.
We actually used massive technology servers in the basement to chroma key them
Hey, I
out.
understand that you're losing your lease.
We don't know that.
Oh.
No, actually, we're not losing our lease for sure. We have a lease, and it goes through April 2017.
That's a long time.
Well, anything could happen by then.
Oh, yeah.
You know where I'm glad I don't work? Amazon. Did you read the New York Times article? Amazon says they boast that they have unreasonably high standards for their white-collar workers. At Amazon, the article goes, workers are encouraged to tear apart one another's ideas in meetings, toil long and late. Emails arrive past midnight, followed by text messages asking why they weren't answered. The internal phone directory instructs colleagues on how to send secret feedback to one another's bosses. Hey, you know that Dvorak guy? He's not as tall as he looks. Employers say it's frequently used to sabotage others. The tool even offers sample texts.
It's funny.
Like, quote, I felt concerned about his inflexibility and openly complaining about minor tasks. You should fire this guy. Many of the newcomers...
That's exactly the voice.
You should fire this guy. This is stack ranking. They call it purposeful Darwinism.
Stack ranking.
Stack ranking, basically. And remember, that was something Microsoft finally abandoned under Satya Nadella that you were railing against. The idea
for years
that your coworkers rank you on your performance and that the bottom person is gone.
Yeah.
Causing kind of a...
It was invented by Jack Welch at... pretty much at GE, and GE dropped it.
It sounds horrible. I mean, honestly, I do not want to work at a place like that. They talk about people regularly being reduced to tears in the office by their performance reviews.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like a miserable place to work.
Bo Olson, who worked there 2 years in book marketing, said nearly every person I worked with I saw cry at their desk.
Yeah, everyone cries.
If you're a sadist, it's got to be hilarious.
But here, I will say this, like, lots of people work places where nobody gives a shit. I don't know if I can say that on Twitter, but nobody cares. Nobody cares enough to, like, to actually get the job done. It's too easy to get away with doing nothing. And I bet for a certain kind of person, working at Amazon is in actually accomplishing things despite the often bruising environment. For a certain kind of person, I bet that would be a really welcome change.
The author of the article, authors Jody Cantor and David Streifeld, point out that Amazon does not allow anybody but the top-level executives to speak on the record to journalists. So they talked to... That's a revolving door.
Where was this printed?
This is New York Times.
Well, of course, it's after the Washington Post. This is maybe...
The Post did a similar story?
No, the Washington Post is owned by Bezos.
You wouldn't see this in the Washington Post.
One newspaper going after another. They're going to get there's going to be retribution, I guarantee it.
So did you see the rebuttal?
Come work for us. Yeah.
More than 100 current and former Amazonians were interviewed. Some of them said, hey, I thrived because I was pushed beyond my limits. This was good for me. Well, no, I didn't see the rebuttal.
So it's in the show notes. It's a LinkedIn post by a guy who works in infrastructure development in Amazon. Yeah. And he said it doesn't reflect the Amazon that he lives in every day. He's never seen anybody cry at their desk or anything like that. He suspects a lot of these stories are from the early days of Amazon and that the company has adapted and is not like that anymore. It may be that they're not like that anymore in general or just where he works. But I thought it was really interesting, and it makes you at least think about, whether when you're putting a story together about how awful Amazon is for the New York Times, do you ignore the parts of it that don't fit the narrative that you want to tell? Because this guy basically says, look, this isn't true. Nobody asked me to write this story, but it's not true.
One thing that Nick, who wrote this, Nick Ciabattario, points out that he tried to post a comment in the section, the New York Times article.
And it was moderated out.
And it was moderated out, which does make you kind of wonder if there is an axe to grind here.
The Post and there's 3 papers in the country that make a difference.
I have heard horrible things about working at Amazon, but most of them come from people who work there in the first 10 years. I have not heard... the stuff I've heard about Amazon lately has been more in line with other tech companies, which is, in some places they can work you hard and have expectations that you won't have a life, but not necessarily to the extent that you saw it in the New York Times article.
I'd almost prefer this to working for Tony Hsieh at Zappos, because they have this kind of It reminds me of Office Space where you were rated by how much flair you had. You have to
at the restaurant.
At the restaurant, there was you have to be fun-loving and creative and wear costumes, and that I'd find more annoying than somebody yelling at me.
Right.
Laporte, you suck. Get to work.
Well, and now Zappos has this holacracy thing. Do you know about that?
Yeah, people are leaving in droves because you have no boss. Except that you do. It's just a crypto boss is what I think.
Yes, I think it can work. I think it can work. I spent some time actually in the last couple of weeks talking to this company, Indinero, startup here in San Francisco. And they run on a similar way to Zappos, but they explicitly say they're not trying to do the whole holacracy thing. They actually have bosses, but they got rid of all the middle managers, and they basically have little, teams of employees deciding how to fulfill whatever it is the bosses say that they need to accomplish.
Well, that's very millennial.
It seems to work pretty well, from what I could tell. I mean, it's, I don't know. I was only there for a day, but it seemed like a kind of cool way to work. Like, they're like, look, you're grown-ups, you figure it out. We're not going to tell you what to do.
Don't we let people be grown-ups here? The problem is you let people be grown-ups, then they act like children, and you have to fire them. Sometimes some people do not live well in that environment. Like, if you have no rules,
that's right.
They take advantage. They go, oh well, I'll come in later.
Not everybody's a rule follower.
But
it's
some
like
people thrive. No, some people thrive.
It's like unlimited vacation, right? People are like, "Oh man, unlimited vacation! I just take all the vacations."
Right.
Like, well, you're not.
No, you
that's
don't take any.
That's not the idea. In fact, that's what happens. You don't take any time off, do you?
That's what most people do.
Because you still have your job obligations, right?
Yeah.
You have to figure out how to get your job done, even though you're on vacation.
Is that what we do? I think we do something like that. We don't have PTO. Yeah, you could just take time off, but you have to cover yourself, mostly with ashes. So these seem like alternate
a lot of material
sides
here.
of the same coin. And you have the stack ranking, brutal environment. You have holacracy, which is some new agey adjustment.
That's a millennial thing.
It's millennial, but millennials. Aren't millennials the people who got trophies for no matter how well they did?
And we did no score soccer.
That's exactly who we are.
Everyone's a winner.
Is that a canard, Christina, or is it really how you were raised?
No, it's for real, and it was one of those things where I was a very, very much of a perfectionist as a child, and I knew what the real awards were versus the BS ones.
So it pissed you off.
Oh yes, it made me mad, but it also made me mad if I got like the Mulligan Award, like, oh, thanks for being here. Here's your trophy. I'm like, no,
screw you.
No, that's exactly how I felt. I was such a perfectionist, and I was such a overachiever that it was for me it was disastrous. But yes, no, we completely.
How was it disastrous? How was it disastrous? You just didn't like it.
It ruined her. Look at what a mess she is.
You wouldn't be on the show. How did it ruin you? Come on. You're fine.
Did you get into the workplace and were you hurt that people didn't give you trophies for?
No, actually, I experienced rejection early enough. I was like 15 or 16, and I didn't make the elite drama troupe at my high school, and that was like my first real experience with rejection. I was almost 16, and thank God I experienced it then, because a lot of my friends
you weren't prepared. Yeah.
Well, a lot of my friends, honestly, when they got to college, they didn't know what it was like to be around other students who were like all the best and didn't know how to deal with the fact they weren't like the top students and freaked out in college. And a lot of my other friends who got through college and got into the workforce had never experienced loss or rejection and completely and totally were unable to function.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was this really good, it was I think 2 episodes ago, Brian, there's a real sports show. It's on HBO with Brian Gumbel. Did a whole block on this topic and about the no score soccer. Everybody gets a trophy and all the rest of it. And they said that is the problem. These kids are just patted on the back for doing nothing, accomplishing nothing, knowing nothing. They go to college, and the next thing they know, they can't understand why they got a C.
They do start keeping score in soccer when they're like in second grade.
In the case that they showed this woman at 19.
Yeah, they do, but you still get a trophy at the end. You still get like
sure you get.
This feels like a right-wing
She's
conspiracy.
right. She's right.
Just this week, there was a football player who got into the news because he showed a picture on Instagram of 2 trophies that his kids had gotten, one of these sort of consolation prize trophies. And he said, I'm taking these trophies away because you did not earn them. You cannot have these back until you have trophies that you actually earned.
Actually,
for really
the parents are
winning
usually
something.
the opposite.
Also, I can assure you the kids know what the score is. They know what the score is. They all know what the score is.
Well, of course they do, and that's why the whole thing becomes even more of a farce, because then you create these levels within your own groups of who is the real person valuable and who's not, and that just makes things even more Lord of the Flies and more terrible.
That's what makes people crazy, really, is if there's a truth and then there's this lie that is the public,
which is the reason to listen to the No Agenda show every Thursdays and Sunday.
Speak the truth.
No, we do.
Now
We actually do some research.
Oh, that's your mistake right there.
And we actually reveal things that are unusual.
Unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah, false flag operations, things like that.
No, you got the wrong show.
Okay.
We don't do any of that.
Really?
Rarely.
That's where I learned the term.
No, you didn't.
From you?
No.
No?
No.
You were here on this show. Explain that to me.
No.
No?
No.
All right.
You've known about false flags when you were in college.
I'm hallucinating.
You're like you're a little kid in college.
Wag the dog. I know.
I don't know about that.
Coming soon to a venue near you. I don't know where Apple would have their spaceship campus isn't done. Eventually the venues will be there. Are they going to still be in the Yerba Buena Center this time?
Well, last time they were at the Flint Center in Cupertino, so it might be back there. Who knows?
Flint Center was where the Mac was originally announced, and it's a little bit of a bigger venue than the Yerba Buena Center.
Or they could do Moscone West. They like Moscone West too.
That's
it all depends
huge.
It all depends on how they what's available, really. What the real estate.
You follow Apple. One of the stories, John Pachkowski, is now at BuzzFeed. It kind of implied that everything was going to be announced in September. There wouldn't be a later announcement.
Yeah, there is some thought that the iPad may happen just as part of the iPhone event,
and
as
Apple
part
TV,
and roll it out with iOS 9.
There's one way of getting people to go.
So maybe you do want a bigger event. iPhone 6, the next generation. As usual, this is the every other year where they don't change the hardware.
Yep.
They just they're going to change it a little bit. Force Touch screen.
So what are you guys predicting?
I don't think that Force Touch really works for me. Do you like Force Touch?
I like it on the trackpad.
I find it very confusing because I don't really. First of all, it's not a universal experience. It's supported by the operating system, but not by apps.
That's the problem.
You press, sometimes it does something, sometimes it doesn't do something. Sometimes you think you're pressing light touch and you're pressing force touch, so the behavior is different from what you. For instance, I find it hard on my MacBook to drag an icon because I press hard. And then it does something else. So I think Force Touch, it's always hard to invent
how come nobody here's using a mouse? Oh, yeah, just as I
Nobody
predicted.
wants a mouse. It's
millennials.
It's
newfangled.
Yeah.
No mouse.
You wait long enough and you're right again.
Vision tracker, that's when you wrote that?
Comes all the way back around.
We go long.
That's right.
Think like a Chinese.
Infinite time scale.
Yep.
So what are you guys predicting?
Well, I mean,
it's not what we're predicting. It's what
the fact is the rumor reporters and Mark Gurman in particular are so good at this, and the supply chain leaks so badly.
Supply chain leaks are the ones that really let you know.
All right,
I mean,
well, tell us what they say.
Okay, so apparently it's a better reinforced shell for the outside.
No more bend gate.
Right. I mean, which makes complete sense. It wasn't really a major issue. It was, I think, the video got a lot more attention than there were actual people. There were some people who had real problems, but it was definitely blown out of proportion. But despite that, it makes sense that they would want to reinforce the metal where they could. So I think that a little bit sturdier shell. I think Force Touch, for the screen, I mean, why not at this point? They might as well. They're making it on the trackpads. They're doing it for the Apple Watch.
You can always turn it off, right, if it doesn't make sense to you. Yeah.
Precisely. Might as well throw it on, and then you have an extra thing to give the S. So
what's up, guys?
Oh, sorry, that's the bend gate guy. He's here to show us it's not bending this time with calipers. Now these new shells. These are presumably these shells, right? Because this is a supply chain that starts to leak once you start manufacturing it. It's weird though. If there are supply chain leaks, why have we not seen new iPad shells? We've seen a new Mini, I guess. Right.
Well, they might not have gone into production yet, and they're probably doing way smaller amounts of the iPad than they are of the iPhone. So they probably need to start way in advance for the iPhone. I mean, how many did they sell? I mean, they sold, close to 200 million iPhone 6s. So they probably got to start those earlier. That said, we do have to be careful with some of these supply chain leaks because last year, Marcus Brownlee got what was supposed to be the sapphire glass
it wasn't.
front, and it wasn't. I mean, that ended up not happening. So I have a feeling that this shell is legit, and I have.
By the way, that was the same source, wasn't it? That was. The guy in Australia who gives this guy his stuff. What's his name?
Exactly.
Pipeline to China.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I have a feeling that the shell's
Dickinson.
Scotty Dickinson, yeah.
It's entirely possible that iPad will get announced in September, the iPad Pro that we've talked about, and may not even ship until October or November, too. So.
And I'm somebody who did not think they were going to do an iPad Pro, and I still don't necessarily
I want the iPad Pro, though.
Why?
Well, yeah, but I think that with the iOS 9 and the dual app mode, that just is screaming for a bigger screen.
It's funny because one of the reasons people believe the iPad Pro rumor is because of this feature in iOS 9, and we're seeing the code now of dual windows on a single screen, moving around windows. They actually showed it at WWDC.
Yeah, and it works on the iPad Air 2.
Yeah.
It works on Air 2. It works fantastically.
But it makes more sense on a big screen, and ironically, it looks like the new Mini is the place that's going to show up first. A much smaller screen, and what is it, a 9-inch screen?
Well, I mean, the Mini's got the tech for it. It's got all the same pixels as the Air 2.
Exactly.
So if they do that and upgrade its internals to be equivalent to the Air 2 and
then
come out with an Air 3 as well,
the Air 3,
and then if there's a Pro model, I think the Pro model will happen. I think that there's probably
a 12.9 inch.
Yeah, I think Apple has learned its lesson a little bit about with the phones, about saying, you know what, sometimes offering a bigger screen, they'll figure out how they use it and whether they want to use it or not.
That's smart.
I mean, I think that it might be something that they primarily sell with the IBM partnership, just because, I mean, I can see it having some sort of consumer appeal, but I think it's mostly a business appeal. Me personally, carrying around a 12-inch tablet, no matter how thin and light it is, doesn't appeal to me because I might as well just carry around a MacBook.
It's not clutchable.
I hear there are a lot of artists who will be really excited to have a bigger screen and maybe integrated tablet like pen stylus functionality.
Of course, Wacom sort of stuff.
Dylan's using that Surface, and
right now.
And that's a really cartoonists love the Surface Pro.
I'm coming to you on a Surface Pro 3 right now. I have to say there's some things about this I really, really like. I've been using it as my primary computer for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And it is lighter than a MacBook Air to carry around. It's lighter and thinner. You pop off the keyboard. You can use it as a tablet. It's a little bit heavier than an iPad, noticeably heavier. So it's not the ideal tablet. But what it's really good for is the pen. Like using the pen with this is like, drawing. I can take notes really quickly. The keyboard is okay. So it does a pretty good job of being sort of a general purpose, like switch between reading longer form things or browsing the web or taking some quick notes in OneNote or setting it up and typing and doing email for a while. Like it kind of works. So I could see how an iPad Pro with a larger screen and some kind of type cover could actually be really functional for people. Because
in fact, the Surface Pro, I could see Apple backing off on the iPad Pro because they're going to say, well, you're just copying the Surface.
You're just
Surface Pro 3. Yeah.
The problem, the opening for Apple. I'm sorry, Christina. The opening for Apple, I think, is that you're still running Windows, right? Even with Windows 10, which is way, way better than what went before with 8.1. It's way better. But like everything that Microsoft makes, it's got all kinds of little tiny annoying bugs that eventually they're going to get ironed out, I'm sure. But in the meantime are just frustrating and weird and janky. And they'll never go away completely.
Well,
so you have it. What is the feature of the new iPhone that's going to make everybody say, even if they have an iPhone 6 or 6 Plus, God, I have to have that?
Apparently nothing. It's not necessary.
I don't hear anything yet.
Well,
and it's not necessary.
Most people aren't upgrading from a 6. That's the reality. We in the tech talking community here, we always think, well, how much better is it than the last one? But most people are upgrading from the one before that or the one before that, 2 or 3 years later.
Although that behavior is going to change. T-Mobile, for instance, says buy whatever iPhone you want. Just pay $15 a month. And when the new one comes out, we'll just swap you.
Yeah, you just gotta
new cost.
Just gotta pay more over time in order to do that.
Well, you have to continue to pay $15 a month, but. I wonder if that'll happen. That there'll be a faster upgrade cycle.
It'll probably have more RAM and be faster. So although a lot of people won't care about that, it'll have the Force Touch thing. Who knows? There may be some other little bit of hardware in there, or the camera will be upgraded, or something like that.
8 megapixels starting to look a little anemic in the current crop of photos.
Well, I mean, the current iPhone camera is good.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great camera. But if they did 10, if they did something else, I mean, I think better camera. Maybe they promised better battery life. With the combination of iOS 9, that could be something that could push some people. But it's a great point. Jason makes is that most people are not upgrading from the 6. They're going from the 5 or the 5S, and in that case, you're getting the bigger device. You're getting the Apple Pay stuff. You're getting the Force Touch, and for a lot of people, I think they'll be really happy with that.
Now, when you just got back from a long trip in Europe.
Yes.
So did you take all your photos with your iPhone 6? Or
I brought a Galaxy S6 Edge.
So
and
your
an
picture.
iPhone
So when
6.
I go to the Instagram,
and all the pictures I took were with my Sony, of course, with a camera.
Actual camera.
An actual camera. Although a few pictures were taken with.
I just took a 10-day road trip with my family, and
you
we didn't
bring
bring the SLR. Yeah. We just brought our
increasingly that's
iPhone cameras, and it was fine.
Once you get addicted to HDR,
and Zoom. For instance,
Zoom
something you can't do very well with a camera.
That's where it fell down. Is there were some shots where I thought I wish this was closer.
I'm telling you,
wasn't.
HDR is the greatest thing ever.
You just discovered that, did you?
Well, I knew about it before because I used to have an old Sigma, and that kind of had all that.
So you shoot like 3 images every time. 5.
I try 7. You get black and white. It's useless.
5's good.
Yeah, 5's good.
5's good. 2 stops apart. 1 stop apart. 2. Yeah, 5's plenty.
And this little guy here, and I think the one
using an OM.
No, I got the little one.
The pen.
Yeah, the little bitty one, the miniature
Olympus.
pen.
Yeah.
It's got like an HDR setting,
right?
So you can choose as many as you want,
right?
Which I'm sure the Sony does.
The world has bifurcated between people who will only use a camera phone and people who are willing to spend time, because in HDR you still have to spend time post-processing.
Right. There's a lot.
They're willing to spend more time in that area. They're more serious about their images. But most people used Instamatics for years.
Exactly.
That's the equivalent of what you've got with a phone. It's a snapshot device.
Exactly, and it's instant. You don't have to get your film developed. But yeah, you're right. Most people used Instamatics, or they used Polaroids, or they used the cameras,
which is 90% probably. That's good enough. And frankly, 8 megapixels is probably good enough as well. I don't see people lobbying for more megapixels.
No, I mean, because we've kind of learned that it's the sensor size rather than the megapixel counts. To a certain extent. I mean, having more can help at a certain level, but I mean, it's really the sensor count. And Apple, to their credit, they've done a really great job this year with the campaign. Shot on an iPhone or made on an iPhone.
No kidding, those are beautiful images.
Which is fantastic. I mean, they especially when they blow them up and they put them out in the stores, and some of that work when you actually see it blown up, it's amazing. What they've been able to do. And obviously there's post-processing involved and there's other stuff, and it's really good photographers, but that's just proof right there that these things can take really amazing photographs.
We got to hurry up because John's looking at the traffic for his commute home.
Well, he got here late. He could always leave early. And
it won't help.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're going to wait till that red turns green and then go?
I'm listening to the conversation. I just happen to have this page up that shows the traffic coming out of here is terrible.
Terrible. So everybody, let's do a long show. What do you say?
Yes, let's go for
4
the 3 hours.
5 hours. Let's go.
I think you go long shows. Long shows are good.
Very rarely do I ever get emails saying, I wish that show were shorter. But of course, my feeling is probably what really happens, people just stop listening when they've had enough.
When they feel like it. But they can always fast forward.
So really the show could be any length at all. Whatever you feel like. You don't have to fast forward, just stop.
I've been watching Screensavers.
How do you like that?
I have some thoughts.
Would you come in and be a co-host on the show?
As soon as I get the Vinegar book done.
Good. I want you to do Vinegar.
So you want some thoughts on the show?
Sure.
Well, a couple of things. I think the show, for starters, to be honest.
No, be honest, please.
I think it should be a little tighter. There's too much chit-chat like on this show, which is fine. And it should be a little longer. I think tighter and longer.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
What?
No, I actually agree with you because it's more like a TV show. This is really just a
I also think that
radio show or something.
Yeah. Well, it's a radio show.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a little tighter
and longer.
And longer, I think would be a plus.
Yeah.
Now, if I wanted to get into little details, I could bring a couple of ideas in.
Yeah, please.
So I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
And because we have the stream, the No Agenda stream, which puts random podcasts on besides ours.
Oh, that's nice.
And
you ever put any of our shows on there?
We've never been given permission, or we never thought about it. But I would love to put a couple of shows on. Yeah, I think Security Now is an outstanding product.
Great show.
I really, as I've said this before, I really like Scott's show.
Wilkinson.
Yeah,
Home Theater Geeks.
It's totally geeky show.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, you like the geeky shows. Well, you should. Those are good.
What's kind of missing is that, anyway, I ran into Andy Anatko has this show that he just yaks and yaks.
Anatko's Almanac.
Yes. Anatko has some weird, is kind of an interesting character when he starts talking. And I know it sounds way too geeky, but he's actually got, it's somehow entertaining when he talks about comic books.
Yeah, because he loves them.
And I think,
you do too, Jason.
Yeah, and I think your network is not serving, I guess you could call it the comic book space.
Oh, my God.
That's
absolutely intentional.
You should put an...
That is absolutely a conscious decision on my part.
You should put
the comic book space does not need us.
I think Anatko could do a small segment on the screensavers. It would be fascinating.
All right, we will do a comic book space.
There we go. Okay.
No, we used to send people to Comic-Con and stuff. And you know what I realized is we are for a tech enthusiast who's really interested in technology, computing, hardware, that kind of thing. And a lot of people conflate that with the geek culture side of it.
Conflate. There's a word I don't use.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
It's not
I may be using it incorrectly, but anyway.
No, you got it. You got it.
Seems right.
And there's overlap. If we could bring up a Venn diagram.
If there's a set diagram, there's some overlap, but it's not enough overlap for me to do it.
To comic book? The comic book space?
I think it's important for us to stick to our knitting, to really have a laser-like focus.
When I left,
so you know what you get here. So, we used to do Current Geek Weekly. We used to do some of that stuff, and it never did very well for us.
Oh, that surprises me.
We had a cord cutter show.
I would think that people would just be fascinated by some of this comic book chit chat.
I think that's.
Well, there's some overlap, but it's
you're
not
a
100%.
comic book
So
nut.
I've got a whole network of geek culture shows at the Incomparable, right? And when I left my job and decided to start up some tech podcasts, I went to a tech podcast network, to Relay FM, because I didn't want to mix the two, because I felt they are different. And there are people who are sci-fi and fantasy and comic book geeks who are not tech geeks, and the reverse is also true.
I also think the comic book segment is well served. Very well served.
I don't pay much attention to
it.
It
is.
It is. It's highly well served.
Really?
I also feel like a fascination with superheroes and comic books is somewhat infantile.
You think?
Yes.
Huh. I would have never thought that of you.
You're out of the club.
I've always felt
get out.
That you
this
would
podcast
have
is over.
You would have been totally into that whole thing with the capes and the tights and the whole thing.
I am never doing cosplay. I am never doing
There
cosplay. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
we need Leo into cosplay.
I'm an old fart. I'm not that
You
interested
actually
in that
promised
stuff.
Jolie Odell on a show that you would do all that stuff for her.
I say anything Jolie asks. I do it. I just say, yes, dear.
There you go.
Whatever you want.
All right. Well, anyway, that was my input, and that's it.
Our show today brought to you by Gazelle. As you're getting ready for maybe a new iPhone or a new Samsung phone or, gosh, a new tablet, you're probably wondering, well, what do I do with my loving old tablet or old phone? You could just throw it in the drawer, but that'd be like throwing $100 bills in the drawer. Nuts. In fact, worse, because at least a $100 bill is going to kind of hold its value. That smartphone is depreciating by the minute. Go now, my friends, hie-thee to Gazelle.com and get a quote on your old gadgets. It is never going to be worth as much as it is right now. Now, the nice thing is that quote's locked in for 30 days. So by the time the new iPhone comes out or the new phone you want is available, you'll know, am I going to do this or not? There's no commitment except from Gazelle that they will give you that price. So do it right now. Get all your stuff. Get all your gadgets. Get the quotes. When you decide it's time to sell, you press the button. They send you a box prepaid. They pay the postage on anything worth more than $1. The turnaround is fast. They will wipe your data if you forget to do that. I do recommend you do that. But sometimes, they buy broken iPhones or iPads. You can't. They will. They will also send you a check or a PayPal credit or an Amazon card. By the way, they bump the price of that 5%. And, you're going to basically fund that next purchase by selling the old stuff. Gazelle. They've paid out nearly $200 million to over 1 million customers. Now, you may wonder, well, what happens to the stuff that Gazelle gets? Well, some of they recycle, some they sell on eBay, but the very best stuff they sell on their site. This is something new. Gazelle sells high-quality used devices, certified pre-owned. There are 2 levels. There's a certified like new, which is basically new. And they're certified good. Those may show some gentle signs of wear, but you're going to save even more money. Every device Gazelle sells is backed up in 2 ways. First of all, they've been put through a very rigorous 30-point inspection. They are fully functional. The screens are clean. There's no scratches. These things are nice, sweet, in great shape. And they're backed by a 30-day risk-free return policy. So for whatever reason you're not happy, you just send it back to send you your money back. Gazelle.com, do it right now. Get that quote, because I'm telling you, your stuff's not going to be worth more tomorrow.
That's true.
Gazelle.com. Have you ever seen a gadget appreciate?
Never. Well, maybe.
Like some cars will appreciate.
Yes, the box of the bag of parts that says Apple One has appreciated.
That has appreciated, but you had to wait a long time before
The 20th anniversary Macintosh, too, which almost nobody bought. Those are worth a lot more now.
Really? Is that worth money?
They are.
It is.
Oh, yeah. It's like $7,000 on eBay. Yeah.
$7,000. Well, it's a big deal to you.
Just keep waiting. Keep waiting.
I'm waiting for $100,000. What did that Apple One sell for? $3 million, something like that?
No, I think it's
something like that. Yeah.
I think it's $250,000.
A friend of mine has a prototype iPad.
Okay, I got one. I got it. She's so.
By the way,
what about
there is nothing in here that will do anything. The processor and everything is in the subwoofer.
Oh,
remember that? The subwoofer?
The Bose subwoofer.
That's
Via this.
Oh, so you don't have the subwoofer?
No, I have the subwoofer.
Oh, okay.
It's just too heavy to bring over. Look at the size of this.
Oh, here it is.
Here comes the
John
subwoofer.
with my subwoofer. Here, Jason, would you hold
So
that for me?
fun fact, that was the very first computer Johnny Ive ever
Subwoofer
designed in Apple.
CPU.
This was a Johnny Ive, and that's probably why it's worth the money, right? All right, this is a
no,
big
I think
moment.
it's just
This
because
is like
it's a weird.
It's like a
when Tim
Soyuz
Cook-
docking is what
This is
this
like when
is.
Tim Cook touched
Bono's
Bono.
finger, yeah.
Yeah, you guys have to get married now. Fantastic.
Come on, Spartacus. You can do it. I think it's really meant for one person to do by themselves.
I think it's connected.
In private. No, it's not.
By themselves.
No, you can't pull it. You guys can't get it apart.
There we go.
There you go.
I cannot unsee
There's a bunch of dirty
now.
material here.
Wait till you see the animated GIFs that are going to appear on Twitter after this. All right.
Yeah.
That's worth $7,000.
Even though the guy who invented
Does it have to be functional?
I think it helps, but it doesn't have
you're going to break it.
Not anymore. Apple is delaying, according to Bloomberg Business Week, live TV service. The negotiation's still not going. That's why I think finally they said, let's just ship that Apple TV.
Yeah, I think exactly. And plus, I think the longer they wait, like the cheaper it's going to get for them to get those deals.
You think? Like the cable companies, the networks, they're all going to realize they're screwed. We should make a deal with Apple.
Basically, I mean, I think the longer that it takes, the more their subscriber numbers fall, the more their other services don't pick up, and the more they go, actually, okay, fine. You got us over a barrel.
Apple's going to try to, anytime Apple tries to make a deal where they're the first one to do it, at this point, an entertainment company is going to say, uh-oh, Apple's trying to.
We saw that
Apple's
happen
trying
before.
to screw us, right?
We've read that book.
Right.
So a lot of these unbundling deals are going to happen, and then by the time Apple makes their final deal, it won't be so weird.
Yeah. Interestingly, NBC Universal / Comcast is beefed up its investment in Vox, which bought Recode and does The Verge and does SB Nation. And they've beefed up their investment in, is it BuzzFeed?
BuzzFeed,
yeah.
And I think that these companies' thinking is, no, we're not going to go the Apple route. We're going to reinvent ourselves. We're going to become a content company for the internet. And these guys are going to show us how to do it.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck.
Who did Verizon buy? Verizon bought
Verizon
AOL.
bought AOL. Yeah. And
Same
I'm
thing,
not,
right?
I'm not saying that they won't be successful with some of the content. My question is are they going to be successsul by creating a venue called Watchable where you'll watch
Oh, my God, that looks horrible.
It does look horrible. And so, and as someone who works at Mashable, I was a little annoyed with the name. But our lawyers, no, I'm kidding. But no, I mean, it seems to me odd that, like, it makes complete sense that you would invest in these companies because they're future of content. And obviously, especially if you're NBC, your content is not doing well anywhere, right? So you invest in where content is succeeding. But it doesn't make sense that you would think that all of a sudden you can create, like, what are they going to do? Create a traditional television channel for this stuff? I mean, that's not going to work.
It's not internet. That's what's so weird about this. You will have to have a Comcast set-top box.
Right.
What about Roku?
You'll have to have the X1. No, it's for the X1 system.
What about the Roku?
No.
Well, this
they want to own it. It's so dumb.
Lame.
Subscribe.
Really
You're going to have
lame.
to subscribe to actual cable. It's not enough to just have Comcast internet. You're going to have to. I mean, look, the X1 is kind of an amazing box. I won't lie.
Mine is horrible. No. Mine is a nightmare. First of all, the hard drive's going,
That makes your TV watching experience dynamite.
Yeah. And the idea is you have one DVR and then satellite units everywhere else. They never, and for a long time, for some reason, the Comcast box didn't know I had HBO. So every time I tried to watch I could watch HBO, but if I wanted on demand, it'd say, no, you don't have a subscription. Well, what am I watching here?
That's no good.
The thing is a piece of crap, exactly as you'd expect from Comcast.
Nah.
So now they're partnering with, besides Vox and BuzzFeed, Awesomeness TV, Refinery 29, and The Onion. News sites like Mike and Vice. Mike is M-I-C, not M-I-K-E.
Yeah.
And NBC Sports. And this, they say, is to rival, now I don't know if they say this or this is what the media is saying, to rival YouTube and Facebook, but it's not internet.
No, it's not. I mean, that's the thing. No millennial that the audience they're going after cord cutters but increasingly what's
But if you're a cord cutter, you don't have Comcast.
This is my point. This is my point. But not only that, exactly. But not only that, there's an even scarier demographic that's coming up called cord nevers. So these are people who, once they graduate from college, never bother to subscribe to cable at all. Like, I'm weird for someone in my age group where I actually subscribe to cable TV, and that's because I do. Well, and I love it, and I'm not going to get rid of it, and it's fine. I spend $250 a month on cable and internet.
What?
Wow.
I do.
What?
Do you have
is
any
that
money?
Cablevision?
Do you
Who's
have
your cable
any
company?
money?
This one,
Optimum.
she's obviously way overpaid by Mashable.
But especially that's because of Ulanov being a dummy. That's what she said.
No, I'm just kidding you.
I'm dual income, no kids. Okay.
And you have your priorities, right? You know what you want. You want Game of Thrones and fashion-forward watch bands.
That's exactly it.
And no money.
And The Bachelor.
And The Bachelor.
You're dinks.
Yes. And I have but we're dinks. So yeah, I mean, dual income, no kids. It makes it a lot easier.
Well, I haven't heard that for years.
See, the problem with cutting the cord is that you miss out on a lot of stuff that other people are talking about, like the fabulous Republican primary debates.
I agree. I think more people...
You couldn't watch that if you didn't have cable. And Silicon Valley, like everybody in Silicon Valley is talking about HBO Silicon Valley.
Mr. Robot.
That goes over the top.
Mr. Robot, USA
Mr.
Network.
Robot.
I feel like really the truth is, while we pay a lot of attention to cord cutters and cord nevers, as soon as they get enough money, they're going to get cable.
Well,
They do.
So I feel like the timeline here is going to be pretty simple. They're going to be, I'm cutting the cord, and Comcast will be like, all right, well, we're sorry to see you go, but we're really your only high-speed internet option, right?
Right.
Like, all right, no, I'm not cutting the cord literally. I'm just the TV. I don't want the TV. They're like, all right. A little time passes, and then Comcast calls you and says, hey, do you know there are all these TV services that happen over the internet? And you're like, oh, yeah, I've heard about those. We could send you a box. And you're like, all right. Yeah. And at that point, you've cut the cord, except now you have a cable box in your house
and a $250
attached to your
bill.
TV. Mm-hmm.
Get a Roku.
In fairness, we have like 100 megabit internet, and we can run a server from our house, and we do. So
But you were what everybody wants. Everybody wants more choices. They want more content. They don't want less content. They want to watch the Republican debates. They want to watch Mr. Robot, and they want to watch their Roku. And so I think the trend is really And by the way, cord cutting doesn't, as everybody's learning, save you money, because by the time you buy HBO Now and you buy Sling TV, you buy your internet, you've spent the same amount of money.
You might as well just get cable.
Prime.
Yeah, just get cable.
Or get the Dish Network. What's wrong with that? That's a great service. I love the Dish.
Because you don't get Comcast Watchable.
I don't want Watchable.
By the way, Verizon is rumored to be doing the same thing.
Of course they are. But
what's happening here, I understand. I mean, it makes perfect sense. First of all, this is the same thing the music industry did, right? They said, okay, our business model, we're going to go kicking and freaking screaming, and we're going to do everything we can and partner with everybody we can to just maintain this business model, which is why Spotify is allowed to exist, why iTunes is allowed to exist. And then on the part of the content creators, well, why not? It's just one more platform. It doesn't cost me anything. It's not an exclusive deal, I would presume. Verizon's deal will be called, according to Variety, G90. This is Yanko Records, one of the GigaOM refugees, who's a great media analyst and now works for Variety. Go90. It'll be a mobile service launching, they say, this summer, which is like almost over, so they better hurry.
Yeah, I was going to say, so yeah.
Full episodes of TV shows from select networks, as well as music videos. It sounds a lot like Hulu. And other short-form content.
Sounds worse.
The service will be, how do you like this, John, free of charge.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah, everything's free, sure.
So by select networks, they mean networks that no one wants to watch, right?
Yes.
Awesomeness TV, Vice. It's the same networks.
Mike.
Again, so okay, yeah.
Mike.
It's the same crap. So I have a little piece of advice for people who use the Roku. Has anyone gone and found the private channels?
Yes, those are so good.
What are those, John?
Well, like the Pear Network.
The what network?
See,
the
there's
Pear
one.
Network?
Well, you want to get the
Is
Pear
it all
Network.
about fruit?
The Pear...
It's a very token laugh, but I thank you for it anyway.
You're welcome. The Pear Network is like a software bus that you can put other channels on.
Oh.
And the Pear Network you can get
P-A-I-R?
P-E-A, or like Pear, just like
Pear.
you thought. The fruit.
All right.
And once you get on Pear, you put Pear on as one of your channels, and when you go to that, there's other sub channels under that. It's dynamite.
So I go to the Roku store to get that?
No.
No, I don't.
You have to
You
find
got to
these.
go to the private channel.
Yes, and there's codes. You have to find the code for it, and then Roku has this rigmarole you go through, and you have to go through your system. It's actually complicated. But once you get
basically you add them manually.
Yes.
There's adult video. There's all sorts of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff on private.
Yeah.
But you can
Is there a
load up.
directory somewhere I could find all that stuff?
No. That's a...
Ooh.
Well, no, somebody maintains one on some of the forums.
Yeah,
but
they're
yeah,
all
you're right.
RokuGuide.com. Hey, there's the Stoner channel.
Yes.
A 420 video program featuring cannabis-related content.
But
the Ex-Mormon Files, a collection of personal stories from ex-Mormons.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Illusions demo, 13, count them, 13 optical illusions.
There's a lot of stuff that's crap. But
Peru TV?
There's a lot of stuff.
There's so much stuff, yeah.
It's
before.
outrageous how much stuff there is.
There are literally several thousand private channels.
Oh yeah,
on Roku.
and there's lots of it that's like not. I mean, that's basically piracy.
Does Roku know about this?
Yes.
Oh yes, of course.
Because they have to give you a code to allow it to show up on their box.
In fact, before they had official YouTube, I mean, it took them years to get the YouTube deal. There was an unofficial channel for YouTube that you could get that they used to like see journalists.
Oh, I bet here's one that Adam loves. Listen to police, fire, and amateur radio broadcasts.
What would you say? Why are you besmirching Adam, who gave you a big send-off at the award show?
I bet he likes this.
He
On
is.
the Mic, music, celebrity-driven weekly television show. The Nowhere Archive. Audio, books, TV, music, and more from the Internet Archive.
Yeah.
That's cool. You could watch every episode of the Computer Chronicles, including the famous John C. Dvorak episodes.
Right, where I take the machine apart.
Yeah. Weather graphics, radar and satellite loops.
Fantastic.
But you know, if you have a TV on, it's kind of fun to put that stuff on there.
Sometimes. What I like, especially because the Pear Network has a really good feed, they've got HBO, they've got Showtime, and these feeds come from some
That's
kid.
not legal.
There's some kid in
No, it's
Vietnam
not,
who's
but
got the HBO system because it's all Vietnam subtitles, and he's feeding it.
Where do I find out more about the Pear Network?
Just dig around, you'll find it.
Channel Pear, cloud-based live streaming discovery panel, channelpear.com.
Yeah, that would do it. That would be, I think that would be it.
Works with most major browsers and the following devices: Roku, Plex, Kodi. We're putting them out of business as we speak. Yeah. Don't you think?
But I'm sure they're based in a country where none of this stuff applies.
Ah.
I mean, think about it.
They've got this is for cord cutters. The Pear Network is perfect. But what I like is that
totally signing up for this.
One of the best.
Wait a minute, they actually charge money.
No. Don't pay attention to the money. It's free. What you want, the good one is that you can get all the good. You get a number of outstanding Canadian feeds. I know it's kind of sounds idiotic.
No. That's nothing like it.
But you can get CTV Edmonton, which is outstanding, and you can get global Toronto and outstanding product.
They got Showtime on here.
Well, the Showtime, believe me, there's a lot
they got
of
HBO on here.
Yeah, they do.
They got basically this is my cable lineup they have on here.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what's funny is a lot of times it'll come in clearer than it will.
Yeah, sometimes. The BBC stuff for sure comes better through Pear than it does through Roku straight.
Wow.
Anyway, that's your tip of the week, ladies and gentlemen.
Channel Pear, PEAR.com. A lot of them are from Vietnam. Wiggs is agreeing. You know what? I think that, frankly, everybody who watches this network already knew about them except me.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. So Apple, meanwhile, is trying to negotiate legitimate deals with these people, and they're
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to go up against this.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
Well, the thing is, no, if they can make this, if they can make theirs easy. I mean, you just talked about what it's once you get it set up, it's fine, but it's sort of a pain in the butt to set up some of these cord cutting solutions. So the real opportunity is for people who have the money but are too lazy or scared to jump through the various hoops.
Don't you think Facebook is going to be moving in big time on something like this, and has maybe a better shot at it than Apple or anybody else?
They don't have
Facebook
hardware.
TV?
I mean, they're not in your living room already. Like Apple can sell you an Apple TV box, and you've already got your phone and your iPad. Like Facebook is
How
a
hard
lot
is
of
it to
things.
make hardware that'll do this, though?
Yeah, but the problem is who wants to buy yet another box? I mean, I think
Right.
they could, but I just feel like having a product in the living room is why Amazon and Google and Apple are
So
ahead.
Facebook, for instance, I can't get away. Ricky Gervais has invaded my Facebook feed.
Why?
Yeah.
Because so this Facebook Mentions, which is this thing that was only open to celebrities who are verified, right?
Yes.
And I tried to get in, and I'm
the verified
verified, but they say, you have to have a verified page. You can be a
You
verified
got a verified
profile.
page. They are going to be opening it up to individuals who have verified profiles, like journalists and people like you and I.
So
why would you want to be involved?
Well,
because you can have a Periscope like feature.
It's right in the stream. So every time Ricky Gervais goes live, I'm seeing Ricky Gervais. Trey Ratcliffe is using it for
Can't
his
you just
photo
block
walks.
him?
Pete Cashmore is using it.
Is Pete doing it? Of course Pete's doing it, because
Yes,
Pete was all over Meerkat when Meerkat came out.
Yep, sure was.
Yeah.
Can't you just block
We had
it?
You could, but the point is it's very engaging, and this is a valuable thing.
Well, if it's valuable, why are you complaining about it?
I'm not.
Well, it sounds like you are.
He just wants it. He wants it.
I think
you
I'm-
want to be annoying, just like Ricky Gervais.
No, I'm not complaining at all. I'm pointing out, well, Gervais is annoying, but yeah, you could block him. But I'm pointing out is that Facebook is up to something here, right?
Yes.
They're always up to something.
But the problem is
No,
they can
and
never
it's-
stick with anything, can they? So you never ever.
Well,
One of
that's
these
the
days they're
problem.
going to...
One of these days they're going to nail it. All right, yeah, 1.5 billion users nail it. Do you think that's true that they have 1.5 billion users?
I think they have 1.5 billion subscribers, or however you
They
want to
say
define
monthly active users.
that. I doubt it.
Yeah, I believe that.
I believe it.
I believe that.
I believe it. Yeah.
I've been using it more
Absolutely,
actually.
especially-
I like it.
Yeah, you
I mean,
like it.
I come and
especially
go
if
on
you take all
Facebook.
of their
Sometimes I hate
properties
it.
Together.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they have Instagram,
messaging
they have
alone.
WhatsApp.
Well,
they
Instagram,
have-
if you're going to add Instagram, yes.
Well, Instagram's
No
only
problem.
300 million users.
Yeah, but Instagram is where the action is. That's where it's headed.
And WhatsApp too. I mean, they definitely have 1.5 billion across all the properties, no question.
1.5 billion.
Yeah, it gives them something to do.
Our show today brought to you by lynda.com. They don't have 1.5 billion monthly active users, but they do have 3,000 plus on-demand video courses that you will love to help you strengthen your business, your technology, your creative skills. We love to learn, don't we? I think that's a human condition. And Lynda makes it easy. And by paying one flat rate for every single video on the site, you get to choose what you're in the mood for. You want to learn more about Windows 10 today? They've got essential training, Pro Tools 12 essential training. They've got soft business courses like creating customer value, building a resume, negotiating a deal. If you're into After Effects, you should be. That'd be a great way. You get a job in a minute if you're an After Effects guru. They've got After Effects 2015 Essential Training. They just released a series of courses on Office 2016 and Office 365 for the Mac. They've got great courses on photography. So for your hobby, for your business, for your pleasure, it's great. lynda.com. You're going to learn not just, you're going to learn from people who are great teachers, but not just great teachers. They're working in the field. They're experts. The photography courses are by people like some of the great photographers we've had on the show, including the wonderful Burt Monroy. There's no one better to teach you Photoshop. You learn at your own pace. You can watch beginning to end or just dip your toe into little bits at a time. You can download the tutorials and watch them on the go on the iOS or Android platforms. Learn at your own pace. I love it. It's great. In fact, we're going to give you a 10-day trial so you can really see all the different stuff at lynda.com. lynda.com/twit2. That's lynda.com/twit and the number 2. And you can sign up right there for 10 days free. You got the run of the place. It's a great place to go to learn, to enjoy. I love it. We're talking the week's tech news. We're kind of wrapping it up here. Dylan Tweney is here. Great to have you Dylan, of course, is a contributing editor, right, at VentureBeat.
He's the boss.
Columnist. Are you the boss? He's the boss of Tweney Media.
Yeah, I'm not the boss of VentureBeat anymore. I'm just a columnist.
What happened? You used to be the boss.
Yeah, I left after 4 years. And doing my own thing now, consulting and freelancing.
I love that.
Why'd you leave?
Because everybody, look at Jason here. Everybody's doing that.
Same thing.
Well,
yeah, I think I'm writing for Macworld more now than I was in the last few years.
John, you never had a job, did you? Were you ever on staff anywhere?
Yeah, I was at the Air Pollution District. I worked at Union Oil. I had a lot of jobs when I was a kid.
So when I was in journalism school, he actually came and spoke at my tech journalism class.
And what did he tell you?
Editors are evil.
Oh, you were in the class at Cal.
John Markoff taught, yeah.
Yes,
Editors
that's what
are
I said.
evil.
I put it
underlined it. Yep.
That was the Editors is Evil lecture. Yes.
Yep. What else did he tell you? He said you go out on your own, don't go to work.
That is the thing that I remember the most. Is editors are evil.
Very,
I
and then
promptly
you became
an
an
editor.
editor.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, he wanted to be evil
at the place where John was writing the back page column.
You were his editor.
I was not his editor.
Oh, all right.
They've shielded
Editors
the young
aren't
minds
evil.
from
Why do you
John.
think editors are evil?
It was a long. He would better explain it than I could.
Because a long time ago,
I remember doing it. It used to be a pitch I had.
Yeah.
And it was a reason for it. There was a good reason.
Editors are evil and mice suck.
It was mostly for the benefit of the students to get them a sense of things.
Right.
It wasn't like just as a generality for normal people.
Right. Everybody needs a good editor. Even I.
Well, you in particular.
AT&T has been extremely helpful, I'm proud to say.
Interesting.
When the NSA comes to call, the National Security Agency even said in the recently disclosed NSA documents that their relationship with AT&T is unique and especially productive. One document described AT&T as highly collaborative. Another lauded the company's extreme willingness to help.
Finally, good customer service from AT&T. Do you think they get the little pop-up where it's like, "Hi, I'm Mary. I'm your customer service rep. What can I do for you?" And they're like, "Well, this is the NSA, and I would like some help."
One document reminds NSA officials, be polite when visiting AT&T facilities, noting, quote, "This is a partnership, not a contractual relationship." AT&T's budget was higher with the NSA than any other phone company. They have more taps in the NSA's internet centers across the country than any other company, twice as many as the next biggest, Verizon. In fact, the NSA helped AT&T helped the NSA bug the United Nations, guaranteeing that every bit of internet traffic in and out of the UN would go through the NSA.
Wow.
What a great company.
Amazing documents. This is stuff that came out recently from, of course, Edward Snowden, jointly reviewed by the New York Times and ProPublica. The NSA, AT&T, and Verizon declined to discuss the findings of the files.
Jesus.
You should just bring a spokesperson out and yell lies.
The company installed surveillance equipment in at least 17 of its internet hubs on American soil. Just because the NSA asked. You know,
they're friendly.
Glad to do it. You know, actually, I can understand that because once you come to the point of view that, look, the NSA is trying to protect us from terrorists, domestic terrorism, then you want to help them.
There's been such a good job. There hasn't been any events.
Yeah, look. They've been good. This is good for us. It's good for all of us. I like the illustration on ProPublica, which is the eagle and the seal of the NSA, the National Security Agency, with the AT&T Death Star as its eye.
Death Star.
You know, it's funny. We have nothing to say about this, do we?
Yeah, I guess
didn't we already? I mean, this is just a matter of degrees,
but
right?
But you get tired of it after a while.
After a while, we know it's true.
But you always knew
now,
it was
you
true.
always like.
Hey, United Nation, what part of American telephone and telegraph did you not understand?
Yeah, seriously. Well, I just love that, that it's Verizon and AT&T, which of course both used to be AT&T until we split them apart because of monopoly rules, and yet.
Well, there has been competition between the two companies to see who can be nicer to the NSA. I think that's.
I was going to say exactly, but regardless. Yeah, absolutely.
You've always been a fan of Kaspersky antivirus. You always recommended the Moscow-based.
That was years ago.
Well, it was actually.
But I know company, and I think I've always kind of been a fan until I probably stopped using them about 6-7 years ago.
No, in fact, there was a great Google study where they interviewed security experts and normal people and to see the differences. And one of the things normal people, to a man, almost said, you got to have a good antivirus. One of the things that security experts never said is, you got to have a good antivirus. People think an antivirus is helpful. Of course, in this day and age with zero-day exploits, it's not particularly useful. But according to, and I want to really qualify this. This is a Reuters story. According to former Kaspersky employees, 2 former employees, they had a campaign targeting Microsoft, AVG, and Avast to fool them into deleting or disabling important files on their customers' PCs. Attacks basically to retaliate against smaller rivals. The story goes that Eugene Kaspersky was pissed off that these other antivirus companies were copying their software.
Well, I think everyone was copying the signatures. I think the signatures were
That's what Kaspersky was known for. It was known for its scanning. In fact, that's all it did, right? It was a very fast scanning.
Very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, very fast.
I've just been handed a note. Dylan needs to go.
Dylan needs to go.
So, Dylan, thank you.
We've thought that since the beginning of the show.
You know what? You all need to go.
Ouch.
We've gone on and on and on. This has been endless. There's still so much more to talk about, like Twitter extending DMs to an infinite number of characters. And
I'm going to
Does
send you
anyone have
pie
that yet?
later.
I don't
It's
have
actually
it.
not a bad idea.
there's great stuff. But I'll tell you what, and Jessica Alba, who turns out to be more than just a pretty face, she's also got a startup with
Honest, baby.
$1.7 billion.
Already?
Honest. Yeah.
Honest Co.
Honest Co. Do you buy Honest stuff? I think it's for
I don't have
babies,
children.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was
you
going to say.
She's a baby store.
I was like, I'm
As a
child free.
dink.
Hell no.
Yeah, you wouldn't
Hell
buy.
no, absolutely not.
Dinks don't buy Honest stuff.
No, we do not.
And
That's like our kryptonite.
But you would use Zirtual, or at least you might have until they disappeared, firing all their employees with an email.
I like this segment. This segment is the news you didn't hear about.
The news you didn't know about.
Yeah, you're running at the end. You should do this at the beginning.
But then the show would be over.
The show is over.
The show is over. You don't want to go inside the hookup culture accelerated by the rapid rise of Tinder?
I do want to talk about the tweet
was a
storm
fun
Tinder
story.
sent out.
All right, we'll let you go, Dylan. Thank you for
All right.
being here.
See ya, Dylan.
Dylan.Tweney.com.
Thanks, guys.
Tweney is Tweney. Dylan 20 on the Twitter. Great to have you. Thank you, Dylan.
See ya.
It's been really fun. Thank you,
Okay,
Leo.
Take care. Come back soon.
I hope so. All right. Bye.
Deal. Okay, tell us about Tinder.
They have the thinnest skin of any company in the
laugh.
entire world.
Do they really?
Yes,
God,
they do.
Seem
So
to own. They seem to own this space, though, don't they?
They do own this space, but they
Is it-
can't take criticism for anything.
Is it the comic book space?
No, it's the swipe. It's the swipe left or swipe right.
Are
Swipe
they
right
worse
space.
or better than Uber?
They seem like they're like Uber in that respect.
Look, they're
Who could
they're
tell?
probably better. I don't know. They're probably better. I don't know.
Who
I'm
knows?
married,
asked my
so
daughter.
I don't use
Ah.
I asked my
now we're getting down to
23-year-old
it.
daughter.
Now we know why he's
Do
asking.
kids your age, are your friends, are they all using Tinder? And she said, oh, yeah, nonstop.
Really?
She said, but it's not just a hookup app.
full BS.
It's mostly a hookup app, but actually she has
almost
friends who
entirely.
are in relationships that were started on Tinder.
Yes, absolutely. People do build relationships that way. But for instance, my only experience with the app, because I'm very happily married, is when my friend Carrie will let me go through Tinder for her. And then it's a game. And I'm like, he is cute. He is cute.
It's basically
He's awful.
hot
He's
or
awful.
not, right?
Yeah,
you
it's
swipe
hot or
left
not,
if you don't like them.
And then if both people swipe that they like one another, then you can actually start a chat and a conversation. And then it makes it very easy to say, hey, I'm in this area and I'm nearby. Let's meet up and let's,
Her
go out
point
or
was, if
whatever.
you go to a bar, it's a meetup. This is...
Of course it is.
So it's no different.
I'm not.
Yeah, it
There's
is.
nothing wrong with this. Well, no, there's nothing
more
wrong
efficient.
with this. It's a lot more efficient. I don't have a problem with Tinder at all. I think that it does exactly what a lot of us at our most base, how we choose people, and that's based on looks. And
I
that's,
think it cheapens the
fair,
human
not fair.
experience.
Well, that's a good
Sure.
point, because when you swipe, you're merely swiping. There's no text, right? It's just a picture.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they have their profile information, but it's almost entirely based on looks. But look, if you're using an app like this, it's mostly because you want to go on a date, hook up, do whatever. Like, it's not looking for love. If that's the case, you might want to use, OkCupid or Match or something like that. Or meet someone through friends. In most cases, and I've heard a lot of friends like using this when they go on vacation someplace or they're going to a conference and that you want to, go out for drinks with somebody nearby or somebody in the area. So I think there's certainly valid uses. What Tinder took exception to was this article that Nancy Jo Sales, who's a great writer, she wrote this article for Vanity Fair about how it's kind of, the death of romance and how it's kind of creating this dating apocalypse where people aren't dating anymore. They're simply just hooking up on these Tinders. And rather than kind of understanding the perspective of the person that wrote the article, who is, a woman who's, I think, probably in her 50s, who's writing this from a perspective of, talking to young people, and it is writing it as a trend piece that's probably not going to get all the details right, but is certainly an interesting narrative story. Rather than just sucking up the criticism and going, hey, this is how big we are, big magazines are writing about us, they decided to try to refute things point by point, insult her, and which was stupid, in like this 30 tweets they sent out, 30 tweets about in response to this article, and it was absolutely insane. And I'm going, you're a brand who owns this entire market. You have to deal with the fact that people are going to criticize you. Just ignore it. You're making bank. Your company that I see is spinning out Match, OkCupid, and Tinder into its own IPO. That's insane. And Tinder's a big part of that. Just accept the criticism and move on. There's no reason to go after Nancy Jo Sales and Vanity Fair.
30 tweets, too. 30 tweets. You're doing it wrong. You're using Twitter wrong.
You're tweeting wrong.
Might I suggest using your company blog at some
Yeah, write a Medium post.
Too many tweets.
Yeah.
Write a Medium post. Medium posts are great for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
It's so
That's why they
funny.
made
And, of
Medium.
course, when you do it on Twitter, you're going to guarantee a tweet storm from other people mocking you and...
Well, that was the whole thing, is that it blew up in their face. If they just ignored the story, it probably wouldn't have gotten a ton of play. But because they bought into it, people who were never going to read the article read it, and it got passed around.
Someone
and then the
was
narrative
offended. Someone was offended.
What's this Hinge?
Hinge.
That's in this article, he's interviewing a guy named Alex. It's actually it's a very funny article.
Yeah, it is.
How does he do it? So they're talking about Alex. He's a Tinder king, a young man of such deft text game. That's the ability to actually convince somebody to do something over text, Marty explains.
Hinge...
How does he do it, Marty asks. This guy's got talent. But Marty, who prefers Hinge to Tinder, is no slouch at racking up girls. He says, I could be a boyfriend kind of guy.
What are you reading from?
But then they start, this is the Vanity Fair article. But then they start wanting me to care more, and I just don't. Dude, that's not cool, Alex chimes in his warm way. I always make a point of disclosing I'm not looking for anything serious. I just want to hang out.
This sounds like good dialogue for the radio play you keep wanting to do.
Maybe.
You got the voice.
So Hinge is another Tinder?
So Hinge is like Tinder. The only difference with Hinge is that it actually hooks you up with like your friend of friends. So the thing is, Tinder, you can be more of a creep, right? Because, you might not know anybody. You might not be in the same social circle.
Is it women who don't like this and men who do? Is it breaking?
No, women love this. Are you kidding me?
Oh, okay.
There you go.
No, everybody loves this. Everybody wants an easy way to get a one-night stand. Look, people love to pretend that they don't like it, but it's. Right. I mean, look, I'm really glad I'm married. I'm really glad I'm married because I would not want to date in this environment. It would make it really difficult.
It's a very different environment. But I've watched that as my kids have grown up. They never did date. They went out in groups, and there were hookups. Well,
and there are hookups, and you meet people. I mean, like I was in a sorority, and so you meet a bunch of guys.
Right.
It frats and other things, and you go out with one after another, and then it's kind of one of those things. Or in the old days, people used to find you on MySpace or on Facebook, and if you were in the area or in a class or something. I mean, it's not that different. This is just making it much faster. And the geolocation aspect is what makes it, I think, for a lot of people really sing.
And they get down to the bottom line, like they say things like, "Okay, you're a mile away. Tell me your location."
Right. I mean, that's the thing. It's efficient, and you can kind of know, do I really want to meet this person and hang out or not? You can meet in person. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
After a slew of murders, this will all end.
The Tinder murders.
That's actually not a bad point, because that's one of the things that kind of took Craigslist, down.
Right.
And certainly was the reason I had to get rid of their personal encounters section.
Right.
you've got to be careful to a certain degree. That's one of the areas where Hinge is probably a little bit better because you are authenticating through Facebook. So the idea is this person can be vouched for because we have similar friends in common. And that also means if I'm going to meet somebody on this site and we have similar friends, maybe if I'm a guy, I'm not going to, roofie this person because, my friends will get mad. Who knows?
All right, we're done.
I have to say, if you want to know more, follow the Tinder Nightmares Instagram feed, and you'll get a pretty...
that's
sounds like a book.
It's pretty funny. All right, we wrapped it up. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So great to have you once again on the show, Christina Warren. Christina makes regular appearances on Tech News Today. What day do you do on Tech News Today?
I do it on Friday.
Friday. With Mike Elgin at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And we love having you on this show, too. Mashable.com. She makes great content over there. You should check it out. Thank you so much. I would swipe. What way should I swipe for good?
Swipe right.
Swipe right on you. Thank you, Chris. And I would swipe right on you, too, John C. Dvorak. Yeah, because without you, there would be no me. I have to credit you with my success. Thank you, John, for being here.
Pay for the whole thing.
NoAgendaShow.com. And anything else you'd like to? What are you up to these days?
I'm trying to finish that book on vinegar so I can do the screensavers.
Are you writing it? Are you actually?
Yes. I have a keyboard.
Making your own vinegar.
I push buttons on the keyboard and words come out.
Minus your expertise, I tried to make vinegar and it was.
I keep warning people.
Without your expertise, I don't know what to do. I even had John come over to smell my mother. And
your mother smells great, by the way. She has a good type of perfume.
You told me throw it out.
But you say that disparagingly, your own mother.
No, the mother of my vinegar.
Oh, that's different.
You came over to smell my mother, and you said, what did you say? You said no. So you said that's not going to be good.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. That's the problem. I started doing what you suggested because I went out and I got a Spanish vinegar maker.
Yeah, big mistake.
Which is a scam, he told me.
It's not. It's just the improper way to do this.
So he says, and I've been doing this. Anytime you have don't finish a bottle of wine, stick some paper towel in the top.
Yeah.
And put it in a cupboard.
Right, for about a year.
A year?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And then you see if it's turning into vinegar. If it's not, you dump it out.
When do you sniff the mother?
You never sniff the liquid, the vinegar.
But the mother, isn't that?
No, then you have to watch out.
Can't you have a poisonous mother?
Yes, you can.
Well, that's what.
I
need the book.
Very well known.
Finish the book. We'll have you on.
Most of the mothers people use are toxic.
You see?
Yeah, they're using.
You think
Xylenic.
I'm making this up? I'm not making this up.
No, they're not using wine vinegar culture.
I didn't use any culture. I just put it in.
No, that a lot of
like the air would do it.
Yes, you will get some in some cases. Most of the vinegar culture is already in the wine.
Anyway.
Yeah, generally.
Should I take this like a couple of fingerfuls of vinegar and sprinkle it on?
Vinegar is pasteurized. It's not going to do you any good.
See, that's the problem. You need unpasteurized vinegar.
Well,
where do you get that? From John C. Dvorak. He said he was going to bring his mother. That I could use his mother. A little cutting, a mother cutting?
Yeah, well, you can go on and on with this material, and it's not impressive.
Okay, thank you, John. And how are you feeling, Jason Snell?
How can I follow that?
Jason Snell is impossible. Jason Snell is at the Incomparable.
Yep.
Sixcolors.com. That's probably the best place to go to find out what you're up to. It's all linked there, right?
Yeah, and I've got some, like Christina, I've got some podcasts at Relay FM that people can check out.
Is that Relay.fm?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I didn't know you were doing podcasts there too, Christina. What is your podcast?
My podcast is called Rocket, and it's Accelerated Geek Conversation. It's three women talking about tech.
You could do that all by yourself.
I could, but it's more fun with other people.
Yeah, because, I mean, you are a rocket.
Yes.
She's the fuel in
there it is. Rocket.
Yeah.
Hire the right millennials. Christina Warren, Simone de Rochefort. Oh, and Brianna Wu.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does Simone de Rochefort pronounce her name that way?
Simone de Rochefort. Yeah, you got the last name correct.
Very nice. I want to thank you all for being here. It's been a long day, but we wanted to keep the audience inside where it's cool because it's like 100 degrees outside.
It's terrible out there.
So we decided to do an extra long show for your health. We do Twit every Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 2200 UTC on twit.tv. Please watch live. You can be in the chat room. You can participate that way, or you can always come to the studio where we have air conditioning and heat in the winter. I think we have heat in the winter. You can find out more by, or just email tickets@twit.tv. We'll send you directions, and we'll make sure we have a seat out for you. A nice audience today. Thank you all for being here from all over the world. We have the Rock of Gibraltar. We have Calgary, Alberta, Canada. We have Finland in the house, a honeymoon couple from Finland.
Ah.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Very romantic. Are you sorry you came? No. You can be honest. It was okay.
She didn't hesitate.
It was long. Did you knit while you were No. Okay. Sorry. What else? Oh, you can get on-demand audio and video after the fact. Twit.tv is the website, but we, of course, are on every podcatcher and appliance and thing. There's lots of Twit apps. We don't do those, but those great third-party developers have made it easy on Roku, on Windows Phone, iOS, Android. Just search for Twit wherever you get your shows, and make sure you subscribe. That way you'll be here each week. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Another Twit!
This
is in the game.
amazing.
Bye-bye.
Doing the twit, baby. Doing the twit, baby.